Good evening, everybody. I am in the process of getting our lives connected to all of our platforms. Bear with me here for just a few minutes as we go ahead and get this set up. And we will go ahead and get going. If I can get a mic check from Tyler, Hope, and or Noah, that would be great, just to make sure sound is good. And I'll wait a couple minutes here for a few people to go ahead and come on here. My chat feature works, which is awesome. So that's good to see here. Good evening, James. Good evening, Jody, Caleb. Oh, let's think good vibes here that the cars don't get any hail. I got mine sitting out in the parking lot. We were all talking about that earlier. Nothing wrong with little pea-sized hail, but golf ball, no thank you. So thank you, Anna. I appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. All righty, let's go ahead and get started here. Before we get into the severe weather analysis, as we already have a line of strong to severe thunderstorms developing and a couple of scattered concerns into northern Ohio, southern Michigan here, I want to go ahead and first give a shout out to our friends at Indy Roof and Restoration for supporting tonight's stream. A storm rolls through your area and you're wondering whether your roof or property took damage. These are the guys to come and check out. They will get up on the roof, take any pictures of any damage, walk through everything for free, no pressure. This team is local. They're legit. We love working with them, and they know how to deal with insurance companies. So give them a call, and you can see that the email there as well, indyroofandrestoration.com with their phone number 317-886-7436 here. So just wanted to give them a big shout out, thanking them for helping provide for our live this evening. Let's go ahead and get started looking at some of these severe thunderstorms that are developing. Real quick look at this again. This is our severe risk area. For those of you on Clarity, Clarity Home, Clarity Ag, Clarity Business, you've seen all of our graphics that have been coming out. We've sent out a few nowcasts with some of those timing updates here. And right off the bat, for those of you that are following along using our new storm tracking tool, this activity stretching from South Bend to Lafayette all the way towards Bloomington, Illinois, it is moving from west to east at around 65 miles per hour here. So thank you, Hope. She just told me my cut off a little bit. There we go. Perfect. So this activity moving around 65 from west to east. So we'll obviously be using our storm tracking tool here as well throughout the evening. But if you got that up on your desktop, that's a great way to do it. And for those of you that are not familiar with Clarity, first time checking out our stream, go ahead and scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. You can get access to Clarity Home, which has the storm tracking tool, nowcasts, our custom forecast videos, a lot of tools that can help you stay prepared and safe here. So appreciate all of the comments here. You know what? You're absolutely right. I am not sharing my screen. Let me move my face out of the way, and then you guys can see it. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So yes, these storms right here, let me, right here, northern Indiana, you can see this activity from South Bend to Lafayette pushing from west to east. Again, that's moving at about 65 miles per hour. Currently, those risks are associated with 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts and some hail concerns, especially. I have not seen, and I'm going to wait to hear from my team, any reports of quarter size hail or greater, but I would expect that potential to increase as we get further on into the evening. I am going to turn on our hail tracks here. We can see a little bit more based on the radar is projecting our hail size right around 0.5, 0.65, and then closer to 0.75. Let's watch as these storms push more to the east into a very healthy environment for storms to continue to increase that hail potential here as well. I did see a couple questions already pop up on the watches that have been issued, and I want to talk about that here as well and what those entail. So the yellow areas here from central Illinois, central Indiana, northern Indiana, those are the severe thunderstorm watches that are currently in effect for the next 6 hours. Now, this does not mean for those of you across the northern half of Indiana that we can't see a few tornadoes. That is still a possible risk. But in terms of the greater severe potential that we've been talking about, it's more damaging winds and large hail that will be the concern here. Northern Ohio Storm Prediction Center has issued a tornado watch. I do think there can be a few tornadoes possible. We'll have to wait and see as some of these cells develop and push more from the northwest to the southeast here. I would say at this point, the timing of this, we're going to go and get into this right now. For those of you following along on the desktop, you can go ahead and click on your storm track. We're going to set this out for 2 hours here, and I'm going to include the current projected path of the storms. So far, they're moving from west to east. The cells to watch are going to be along that I-74 corridor from Lafayette to Bloomington, which I do think will have the potential to start to drift more to the southeast as they mature and they become a little bit more severe. That will be a concern for locations along the I-70 corridor, including Indianapolis, Newcastle, Richmond, and further into western Ohio. Let me toggle off the watches and we will get started on our first timing graphic here. And we're going to set this out. I'll put this a little bit to the southeast here at around 65 miles per hour. So this is the timing of the first line of storms that currently is producing strong to severe damaging wind potential of 50 to 60 miles per hour and large hail of a quarter size. I think as these storms move more towards the east of that US 31 corridor, we will need to watch for some continued concerns of very large hail, so getting closer to golf ball sized hail through the rest of the evening. To talk about a couple of the timings here, Kokomo 6:56, Marion 7:10, Fort Wayne 7:24, Auburn 7:25. You can see the end edge here. It would be closer to around that 8:20 Eastern. I am going to, for those of you watching as well, Brett Waltz reminded me of the shortcut that you guys can see the times a little bit better here if I zoom in my screen. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Elkhart 6:35, Angola 7:20, Bryan 7:45, Auburn 7:23. And then we look on our southern extent, Lafayette, Delphi, you guys, the storms are right on the doorsteps. Anderson 7:42, Union City 8:15. I do think there is potential for these times if there's a risk for this activity to speed up a little bit more from west to east. And that is something we will continue to monitor. I'm going to take a look at a couple more updates here on some of this weather, and then we will get back here. I do want to get to some of your questions here. I know there's some questions coming in from central Indianapolis, central Indiana. Bear with me here. And then I want to talk about how soon I think those storms can start to push more towards the southeast. One thing I do want to note that I'm seeing on radar here, and I will move this over, is a few of these cells north of I-74 have an outflow boundary, it looks like associated with them. That might be, no, that's not the lake breeze. There's a lake breeze that shot off Lake Michigan earlier that I think helped initialize some of these thunderstorms. But what that's doing is it's aiding and dragging some of these storms a little bit more slowly to the south. So what I'm ascertaining right now is the timing associated with that, which will be the likely timing that we'll need to watch for Indianapolis and closer to the I-70 corridor here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clear this timer for those of you on the northern end. And I want to time this activity as it starts to push more towards the southeast. We will need to revise some of this timing for Terre Haute, Indianapolis, Fishers, Newcastle, Muncie, Richmond area. But at this time, I am getting close to around, I would say, 30-ish miles per hour. And I'll put this in for my team to see as well. To give us some approximate timing as to when these storms start to push more towards the southeast here. I anticipate it to speed up a little bit more, so I'm going to go ahead and put 35 for now. And we'll see what this timing suggests. Latest simulated radar that we were favoring was showing Indianapolis around 8 p.m. Eastern time. So this would be based on what I think can occur. I think we'll speed up about 5 miles per hour. I think we'll gradually start to see more of a southeasterly tick with some of these storms. This would be my early glance at timing. Fishers 8:10, Noblesville 8, Anderson 8:07, Danville 8:18, Clinton closer to 8:20. Confidence about a 2 out of 5 in this timing, but I do think that these cells start to slide more to the southeast. They will have large hail potential, and they will have damaging winds of 60 miles per hour here. If you are south of this timed zone here, I would say we need to watch between 8:15 and 9:15 for Terre Haute, Greenwood, Whiteland, Newcastle. 8:15 to 8:45. Let's just keep an eye on that. I'm not going to do a timing just yet for those areas until I watch these cells develop a little bit more and start to see that southeasterly turn. If we delay our southeasterly turn, that timing might be pushed back a little bit here. So I will zoom in more as well. Again, this is our first take at timing here for these locations. There we go. So if you're near these cities, near these towns, this would be your favored timing for our initial round of strong to severe thunderstorms. Crawfordsville 7:23, Frankfurt 7:07, Tipton 7:30, Anderson 8:07, Waveland 7:45, Rochelle 7:45, Rockville 8:02, Howard 7:30. These are all in Eastern time at this point. Tornado risks. I'm seeing that question discussed here a little bit more. Right now, as I look over these thunderstorms pushing from west to east, they're primarily hailers, and the cells themselves are quite disorganized. I'm not seeing that prominent supercell look just yet that would encourage me to say that I see a greater tornado risk for any of these cells at this point. At this point, I would say north of the I-70 corridor and south of the I-80, I-90 corridor, there is a low-end risk for tornadoes. I'm not ruling that out. You guys are you can see the orange hatch zone. This has not changed. But at this current moment in time, these cells are still developing, and I'm not seeing any tornado characteristics just yet. We'll need to continue to monitor here right now, being more dominated by large hail and damaging winds. Let's shift away from northern Indiana, northeastern Illinois for a moment and discuss a little bit more what's going on across northern Ohio here, as I am seeing a few questions. One severe thunderstorm warning that is just to the north of Warren, Ohio, that I see some broad rotation that we'll need to keep an eye on here. Going to get some additional timing details for us, and then we'll show our latest thinking as these cells drop more to the south. Now, this cell just to the north of Warren does look like it's starting to develop a little bit more of a hook feature to it here. Right now, most of these cells are moving directly from west to east. And I can even animate. You can see that here. So far, just north of I-80, I-90, there I can see some stronger thunderstorm characteristics, but the only severe cell that we're watching right now into northern Ohio is northern Warren here. Just because I need some questions, I do want to show our latest favored simulated radar as to how it plays out the rest of the evening, and then we'll get back to some of the severe storm coverage into northern Indiana, eastern Illinois. Put my timer up here in the upper right-hand corner. We are currently right now at 6:30. So let me flash back and show you. We'll compare how this model is doing. I would say the only difference is it's 10 to 20 miles, a little bit further to the south. That's how some of these storms are developing. Not bad, all things considered. So when I'm looking at weather models that, and this is one that we chose later this morning, earlier this afternoon, I like to see how they're performing, as that lets me know if our original forecast track and how we favored things to develop is still currently ongoing. Throughout this live stream, and what our meteorologists in the other room are working on as well, is continuing to keep an eye on the environment to see if any changes are necessary. But that's something that you'll see me do on this live frequently here, is to check how models are performing with this system and if there's any differences in our original forecast. There still can be some, if we can see a couple cells that can produce tornadoes, my concern is that can turn the activity a little bit more to its cells right and or more to the southeast. And when that happens, that can affect the timing a bit. So far, I have not seen that. Based on that alone, our current timing projections, this would be around 7:30 and this would be around 8 p.m. Now, given this particular setup, I do expect coverage to become more widespread, and I expect there to be more of an organized line of severe thunderstorms with some bowing segments. Even a few embedded tornadoes can be possible, stretching all the way from I-74 towards the Illinois-Indiana border, through Muncie, into northern Ohio here, more just to the, I would say, north of Canton and Akron. And you can even see as that begins to push more from northwest to southeast here, it's the I-70 corridor that will likely start to see some weakening trends as the storm pushes from northwest to southeast. Doesn't mean there's not going to be any severe weather by any means south of I-70. That's not what I'm saying. But I think at this point, 8 p.m. Eastern, this is going to be the peak intensity of the storms. All hazards on the table, damaging winds of 60 to, I think, locally even 80 miles per hour, especially north central and northwestern Indiana here. And I do think that as this continues to push to the southeast, that damaging wind risk will likely continue, with the tornado risks beginning to, at this point, I would say likely taper off after 9:30. We'll need to keep an eye on any discrete development that can occur, but that's our favored timing for this particular event. But one thing I do want to point out that we've been watching is this potential second round that's more along the front. Right now, I'm more concerned about, from Indianapolis to Dayton to Columbus, there being a high-end area where we can see some flash flooding due to those persistent rounds of heavy rain and thunderstorms. One thing I do want to mention that we'll need to watch, and I'll draw this here, is models are projecting another line and or wave of storms that can develop closer to the front. And as that pushes in, there can be some damaging wind gust threats. But I think at this point, the large hail, the tornado risk is going to be over at this point. That would be the area that we would need to watch for some additional damaging wind gusts. Given the amount of storms that are going to occur out in front of this, I'm skeptical that it's going to be an additional second round of full widespread severe. We'll watch it though, for sure. This is definitely going to be an event that's going to continue well into the early morning hours here as it pushes north to southeast. That's our latest thinking in terms of how this favored model is going to play out. Let's go back to the current radar and take a quick look here. Check with my team, make sure there's no new updates. Let me scroll through a few of these questions here. Most popular question, tornado potential. I would say this hatched area is where we need to watch for the greatest potential of tornadoes from now through about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Beyond that, I can't rule out some isolated risks, but I think that's when the greatest potential likely begins to end as this organizes and pushes more towards the south. So your hatched area is where the best potential is. New severe thunderstorm warning was just issued. That's going to be for 60 and 1 inch hail. Central Fountain, southwestern Tippecanoe, Warren County, northwestern Montgomery County until 7:15. They have this particular storm moving closer to 55 miles per hour. Based on what I was getting on that specific cell a minute ago, it was closer 60 to 63 on this particular cell. So I'm going to time that out here through the warning area. It's a little bit faster further towards the northeast. Oops, double clicked on it too soon here. Now this is moving right around 63 east-southeast. This would be our updated timing. Lafayette around 7:01, West Lafayette closer to 6:55. Williamsport 6:42, Darlington 7:15, Frankfort 7:20, Michigantown 7:27. Lebanon 7:30, Jamestown 7:35, Crawfordsville 7:15. That's all in the Eastern time frame. This lines up decently well with our original timing as well. There's the next severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued for West Lafayette. We're going to time that one out here as well. In fact, I'll probably do a new track. And this is not unexpected to see these storms beginning to mature and develop a little bit better here. And notice you can see the your pink areas in the center of the cell. That's showing the hail core that's beginning to develop and mature. Now I'm going to pull this up on radar because as those cells mature, we'll need to watch for a greater damaging wind threat and even a brief tornado window here as well, as we do have some slight southerly winds that we will need to watch here. This severe thunderstorm warning, northern Tippecanoe, Clinton County, western Howard County, this until 7:15, 60 mile per hour winds and quarter-sized hail. I'm going to retime this here myself and see if the timing is a bit similar here. Couple questions about hail. Is hail falling in these cells? I would say at this point, yes. It appears from what I can tell based on observational reports, most of the hail has been around a quarter to less so far. And that's to be expected to start this event. These cells are still maturing. They're starting to intensify a bit more here. I'm still getting roughly around 62, 63. Lafayette, Delphi, Logansport. Getting this moving a bit more to the southeast as well. And then we got a new severe thunderstorm warning that just got pushed up to the north, Rochester, Huntington, Columbia City. That'll be Whitley County. We'll get into that momentarily. All right, based on this speed here, Marion, Indiana, 720. Sharpsville 712, Burlington 655, Elwood 730, Tipton 720, Cicero 728, Hartford City 737. And that's going to be for a storm capable of 60 mile per hour winds and quarter-sized hail. I did see a report that just came in, and that would be 1 inch hail just east of 421 northwest of Star City. So that's associated with the cell that is moving, and that's with the new warning that just was issued west of Fort Wayne. This is 60 mile quarter-sized hail. You guys can read the counties: northern Wabash, southwestern Whitley, Huntington County, northwestern Huntington County, central Fulton, northwestern Miami, southeastern Marshall until 7:15. This continues to be the faster moving. On this particular cell, I was getting closer to 67, 68. I will go ahead and time that out as well over the next hour. All right, here's the timing. If out of all of the cells across the northern half of the state, I would say this one has the greater potential of evolving into a cell that can produce golf ball sized hail as it pushes from west to east. South Whitley, 657, Roanoke, 712, Fort Wayne, 720, Concord, 726, Huntertown, 715, Lancaster, 715, Wabash, 658, North Manchester, 653. This is the cell that we need to watch for those damaging wind gusts of 60 miles per hour and large hail potential continuing to increase as it moves from west to east. So those are the timing on these two cells. The next cell, looking at timing, Angola into far northwestern Ohio. This cell just produced a report in eastern LaGrange County of dime-sized hail, and I'm also getting about 68 miles per hour on this as well. We'll go ahead and time this out. This cell has already started to develop a hail core for sure. And notice as well, everyone, that you're starting to see these tilt a little more to the southeast as expected. That's going to be very important to watch towards Danville and a few of these storms towards the state border pushing to the southeast over the next hour. Timing this cell here first. Angola 642, Hillsdale 645, Napoleon 738, and then at the end here 741. Let me zoom in more so that we can see a few more cities. This cell currently producing observed hail of about 0.75. I do think it will have potential for quarter-sized hail, especially south of this blue dashed line over the next hour, in addition to those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. All right, there's our new tornado warning. This was the cell that we were watching that was rotating more towards north of Warren, and now it's starting to push toward the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. We'll get some additional timing on this. I am seeing the central Indiana questions. The reason why I haven't talked much about central Indiana yet is because there's no active severe weather just yet for central Indiana. I will show you our latest timing, as again, those cells are starting to move more in from the northwest to the southeast here. Closer to 45 on this cell. Let's time out the area of strongest rotation. There, I like that. I think that'll work well. Sharpsville 658, Mercer 714, Jackson Center 720, Grove City 726, Harrisville closer to 730. And there's a new tornado warning that just went into effect for the storm just out ahead. It's radar indicating rotation. That's going to be getting into Pennsylvania, northwestern Pennsylvania, southern Mercer County, northeastern Lawrence County until 7:15. This is the first tornado warned storm of the day. It has decent southerly flow, so we'll continue to watch that cell as it pushes in from the northwest to the southeast. Going to work my way back to the west here. Northern Ohio for Akron, new severe thunderstorm warning just issued for 60-mile-per-hour winds and dime-sized. This is going to be for West Central Portage, northeastern Medina, and then Summit County in northeastern Ohio through 7:30. Let's get some additional timing details on this particular cell, and then I promise I will work back into central Indiana, and we'll take a look at the updated timing for those cells as well. This particular storm over northern Ohio just fired off within the past, say, about 20 to 30 minutes. So I don't think it's reached its full intensity just yet. So we're getting closer to around 50 to 55 on that particular cell. We will do a new track here. Akron 657, Youngstown 735, Warren 720. The one risk to this particular cell that we need to watch for is if we can see any additional filling into the west of I-71 that can allow us to start seeing more of a strong to severe risk towards New Franklin and Canton. Right now, it's moving more from northwest to southeast here. We do have, and on this tornado warning storm, that would indicate that it is observed. So this particular tornado warning storm is approaching the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. That is an observed damaging tornado with quarter-sized hail. And that is heading towards Sharpsville. The area of strongest rotation will likely be there within the next 10 to 12 minutes. Let's shift our focus back into central Indiana, where we have cells beginning to mature. I'm going to clear our tracks and pull out my drawing tool. These four are the current strong to severe. They're all severe warned right now. But these four are the ones that have my attention. These two in particular, if we can continue to see that hail core develop, we need to watch for rotation on these particular two cells. That's going to mean one of two things. First, we will need to watch for not only the localized tornado risk with these cells, but also a tendency to push more towards the southeast, Indianapolis, Fishers, Anderson. I am going to time that out, but that's the story for these particular two cells in particular. Now, more towards Kokomo, Fort Wayne, not saying there can't be a tornado, but right now we're looking at more of a hail damaging wind risk associated with some of this activity here. Let me quickly check a couple of our other radar products. Check with the team, make sure there's nothing I have missed here. It does appear the storms have started to turn a bit to the southeast. This one in particular, this one I have over here in the blue circle, just to the northwest of Danville, Illinois. That's the cell I want to spend some time watching. This particular storm, these two storms have produced gusts of 50 miles per hour as well. Bear with me for a couple more moments here. I'm checking the timing before I do some updated timing for central Indiana. I am holding steady at 63. Let's time it and see what we can get. I will set this out for 2 hours. And I'm going to its current motion, at least these Lafayette Kokomo cells are still more east than southeast. But I am going to, at this point, include the greater area of Indianapolis. If this cell can start rotating a bit more and maturing, I will need to redo this timer a little bit further towards the south, closer to Greencastle, Cloverdale, and more of Morgan, Johnson, and Hendricks County. Current timing associated with these severe thunderstorms, assuming the turn continues and we continue to see the strong to severe risks, which I do expect. The environment out ahead of these cells is very good for large hail, damaging winds, and even a few tornadoes. Crawfordsville, 723. Let me zoom in here. You guys can see this a little bit better. Darlington, 717. Thorntown, 718. Lebanon, 733. Whitestown, 743. Zionsville, 752. Noblesville, 745. Cicero, 737. Atlanta, 728. Kempton, 715. Frankfort, 706. Indianapolis, 825. Beech Grove, 834. New Palestine, 838. Greenfield, 830. Pendleton, 8 p.m. Anderson, 750. This would be more for the northern side where we are seeing it's the cell just east of Lafayette. Marion, 718. Kokomo, 704. Hartford City, 737. Frankton, 736. I'm jumping around trying to hit all of the cities that I have seen you all mention in chat, but look and see where you're at, where the nearest city, and that's going to be your favorite timing. Or better yet, go get Clarity Home, scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. You can pull it up on a laptop as you're watching on TV and time these out with me. Muncie, 753. And further east we go. Richmond just to the south of I-70 at the very end of my timer here, 8:46 Eastern. Sydney at 8:35. Here we go. I'm continuing to get questions from Central Indiana. Look at the map. Look at where your city is. That's what time we are favoring. If you are in this zone, I am favoring this entire green zone. Damaging winds of 60 to 70 will be possible. Large hail is going to be on the table, quarter to golf ball. And we need to watch for a few tornadoes to develop. I do not think the tornado risk is going to be the greater, more prominent event of the evening. I would favor it to be the hail, based on what I'm seeing on the current radar. Are there additional storms for this particular area later this evening? Yes. I do think that we need to watch for some additional rounds that can develop behind this wave. What can happen in these situations? And you can see the storm activity beginning to fill in northern Illinois, northwestern Indiana. This particular setup has a tendency to get very messy very quickly. As a result of that, once this particular wave moves out, we need to watch for some additional large hail, but I don't see any additional tornado risks just yet. I think that it's going to be more of a damaging wind concern as the storms begin to organize more into a line. Scrolling through a few more questions. Let's see. Perfect. Yes, I do favor, and let me emphasize that again. Those of you that are not in the timing graphic that I just put out just to your south, you are still in the line of fire for some strong to severe thunderstorms. I can't include every area just yet until I start to see more of that southeasterly turn. The nowcast that I think may help a bit more, and let me pull that up for us if it's still there. Give me 1 second. This is the time frame graphic I put together a bit ago, and you can see how so far this activity has evolved. That first line or area from 6 to 9, it's been pushing more towards the west to east. Those arrows representing more of a turn from the northwest to the southeast. 8 p.m. to midnight, central Indiana, east central Illinois, central Ohio is the best time frame for strong to severe thunderstorms. The best time frame. We will need to watch for some additional risks after midnight, but this is the best time frame as we start to see that line push more towards the southeast. Those of you in central Illinois and far western Indiana towards Terre Haute, Greencastle, there is potential that you can get missed by this first initial line, and it would be the second more widespread area that we need to watch once we get beyond that 10 or 11 p.m. time frame. But I do expect more of the northwest to southeasterly. Those of you that I have included on the stream or that are from Clarity or that are watching on our social media platforms as given the active severe weather, we always go live on our socials. Southeastern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, this bottom tier, we may need to extend that time frame a bit more. It depends on how slow that storm line begins to work to the south-southeast. I do not favor any tornado concerns if you were in this area. I think the large hail risks will be very low end, and I think it's the damaging wind risks as that line of storm weakens that is the only considerations that we will need to have, especially towards that I-64 corridor. Let's start keeping a closer eye on a few more of these cells that are just to the north. This Frankfurt cell has caught my attention as I am seeing some strong associated gusts. I'm also getting a report of a funnel cloud in Tippecanoe County. I don't see any. I'm going to one last look at the track here. One last look, and then I'm going to delete this as we will need to reassess in a few minutes. I am noting a prominent area on radar just west of Frankfurt. That's going to be along US 421. This, and actually, let me use my drawing tool. You know, I was talking with some of the team about this. I love this drawing tool, but when I really get into the severe weather mode, I keep forgetting to use it. So some of you guys on comments, if you keep hearing me use my cursor, use this, yell at me to use that drawing tool. All right, I think it's much more helpful for you all to see. I'll actually move this up. I'm seeing more of a gust front type event here stretching from northwest to southeast. We need to watch for a new type of warning to be issued here in this zone with some of these wind gusts out ahead of it. Radar, and it's measuring just above the surface. So it's not depicting what likely is going on, but I do think there is definitely some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts associated with this storm, especially Frankfurt, Michigan town that's pushing in from the northwest to the southeast here. Those wind gusts are going to arrive from, let's see, 6:55 now through about 7:15. Remember, these storms are moving very quickly, so you'll likely see some of those increasing wind gusts here as well. I am getting some reports, just looking at this here. Frankfurt has sounded the tornado sirens. There is no active tornado warning currently in effect. I did see a funnel cloud reported in Tippecanoe County earlier. We will need to assess if we need to issue one here as well. Once again, these cells, as they mature, I'll clear the drawing tool, are the ones that need to be watched in particular. I'll circle these one more time. And I'm actually going to circle the southern edge of the cell too as these track, and or the southeastern edge. These are the areas we need to watch for any type of rotation or underbelly that can develop here. I'm not seeing in particular any type of rotation to suggest a tornado with this cell. It appears to be more of a gust front type look. We'll need to continue to keep an eye on. Either way, this particular leading storm that's approaching Clinton, Howard, and Tipton counties, we will need to watch for some potential of 60 to 70 miles per hour. Great question. Yellow indicates severe thunderstorm warnings that have been issued either by the National Weather Service or by BAM Weather, some of our BAM meteorologists, which I will turn on our BAM alerts in case they decide to issue a warning on any of this activity here. Blast of cold air just hit Kokomo. That's probably the leading edge of the storm. What we're going to do next is I am going to time this particular cell, Kokomo to Lafayette, and then I want to time, I was expecting another warning. I do want to time this storm between Marion and Fort Wayne, where we have the new severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued. They do have the tornado detection tag on possible here, and that's due to the cell starting to ramp up in intensity. I right now am a bit more concerned about the gusts of 60. It looks a bit sharper on radar, but certainly as these cells mature, we'll need to watch for some rotation. Real quickly before we time its partner cell to the southwest, eastern Wabash, northeastern Grant, Huntington County, northern Blackford, Wells County, Adams County, and Jay County. You're under severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile-per-hour gusts and quarter-sized hail. We are continuing to watch embedded rotation along the leading edge, especially towards Huntington and Wabash. I also just got 64, 65 miles per hour on the leading edge of this. We're going to stick with it. It appears National Weather Service got that as well. Let's do timing for the next hour. I am going to include a bit north of where the active warning is, as I do see some signs of intensification along the northern edge. And then we do have a new tornado warning that was just issued for that cell south of Lafayette. We will get to that here momentarily with that new tornado warning. Fort Wayne, 717 Eastern, Huntington, 705, Lancaster, 712, Monroeville, 730, Woodburn, 731, Huntertown, 715, to name a few of those cities. Severe thunderstorm capable of 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. We are watching for rotation along the leading edge. If there can be some embedded rotation, it would be at this point just east of Wabash, south of Lagro, pushing directly from west east. It's this part of the cell that we would need to watch for rotation. Lancaster warned this is the strongest part of the storm with 60-mile-per-hour winds. Again, there is some rotation that can start to push in from west to east. It's weak, but this would be the area where I would want to watch for that. New tornado warning. This is going to be in effect through 7:15 Eastern. Wow, that expires in about, 12 minutes. Moving east very quickly, tornado quarter-sized hail, east central Fountain, southwestern Tippecanoe, and northern Montgomery County, again in 7:15. Given how quickly this cell is moving, that's why it's only issued for a short time, including Newton, Linden, and Darlington area. It is currently north of the I-74. So north of I-74, again, this particular cell is one of the three that I circled that had potential for some rotation. Let me take a quick look and examine the underbelly of this storm. I do see a hook on it and some tightening of velocity. I would definitely say there is some strong rotation associated with that cell. It is pushing east towards that 231 corridor. Timing on it here, getting a straight 60 miles per hour from west to east. Yes, I figured that I've seen a couple questions. Hail reports, I have only seen a few, and they've been quarter or less, and only in northern Indiana so far. Tornado sirens now going off in Crawfordsville. Crawfordsville directly not under a tornado warning, and it should stay to the north of Crawfordsville, the area of rotation, strong rotation. I am going to time out this cell. And we are getting, once again, about 60 miles per hour. Recall what I mentioned earlier with this. We see these cells pick up more rotation. Even if they don't necessarily produce any confirmed tornadoes, they're going to have a tendency to want to turn a little bit more to the right here. So that is a part of the turn, and I am including the north side of Indianapolis, Noblesville, into the track of this particular cell. We'll need to watch it. The further south you are in this particular track, the lower confidence I have in exact timing. In fact, I'm probably going to have to readjust the timing, as this particular cell by Danville hasn't turned much to the southeast just yet. So I think some of the earlier timings I was getting of closer to 8:20, 8:25 for Indianapolis and Greenwood, that might be a bit too soon. I might have to push that timing back a bit more. Let's talk about the timing for this current tornado warned storm. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning as well that just got issued ahead of this main line. Darlington 7:20, Colfax 7:23, Lebanon 7:40, Frankfurt 7:30, Zionsville 7:53, Carmel 7:58, Noblesville 8 p.m., Atlanta 7:56. That's our latest timing. Again, the tornado warning is this outer red box on radar. It's not the time track. That includes Darlington, Linden, and areas north of Crawfordsville. So that would be northern Montgomery County. Northern Montgomery County is where that area is that we are currently tracking. Yellow indicates, so the yellow that you're seeing on screen, I'll clear these timers. The yellow you are seeing are severe thunderstorm warnings. The red are tornado warnings. The new severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued is going to be in effect through 7:45 northern Madison, northwestern Delaware, southeastern Clinton, Howard, northeastern Boone, and Hamilton County. Tipton County, that's until 7:45. Gusts of 60 mile per hour and $1 sized hail. We are going to do an updated timer on that. Tyler, I think that's perfect. Meteorologist Tyler Riggles is also, for those of you that have clarity, working on a new timer as well that will be going out that times the general line of thunderstorms. We continue to see more of a southeasterly turn at this time. From what I can tell here, I'm seeing some questions. There is no current tornado on the ground, but the tornado warned storm is pushing southeast towards Boone and Hamilton counties in that timing I just did here. Let's time out this cell first. This is the severe thunderstorm warned cell. I was checking to see if I had any reports of hail. Regardless, radar returns would suggest we are definitely getting 60 mile per hour wind potential with some large hail. I really want to keep an eye on that cell, also southwest of Fort Wayne. Let's time this out first. New severe thunderstorm warning as well for Boone County. Leading edge of the strongest part of the storm. For those of you that are in the path, I am leaning more towards northwest southeast. Tipton 7:20, Cicero 7:33, Muncie 7:55, Springport 7:58, Daleville 7:48, Anderson 7:44. LaPel 7:2, Pendleton 7:53. Getting some reports of sirens on the south side of Lafayette. I have no idea why. I don't see a single thing south of Lafayette. The only thing that I can imagine that is going on is the far southern edge of Tippecanoe County is under a tornado warning. It's the far southern edge. Look at the distance between south side of Lafayette and there. I'm not expecting any tornado concerns for downtown Lafayette at this point. Let's zoom out. We are continuing to watch this particular cell towards Linden. Definitely some stronger gusts of 60 in this particular cell. Rotation isn't great, which is good news. We'll need to continue to monitor it. Let's move further to the north. Right now, cells in Columbia City, Kendallville, LaGrange do appear to be producing some gusts of 40 at best and some small hail, but I am not seeing any severe concerns right now. Find a color you guys can see a bit better for these locations. Some stronger storms, but not seeing any severe. I saw a couple questions come in. Let's time this cell and this next cell in northwestern Ohio. The cell that needs to be watched closely, and we're a bit out of our local radar range here. Van Buren, Lancaster, Warren. This is the current zone that I believe needs to be monitored for rotation. Moving directly west to east. Rotation isn't particularly strong at this time, but if we can see a brief spin up, that would be where we can expect this. I will go ahead and time this. Still getting 60 on this particular cell. And the outline area of it is a bit more jagged. Van Buren 720, Warren 717. These two areas along the southern cell where we need to keep a close eye on some of that rotation. Bluffton 725, Bryant 745, into Ohio 8 p.m. Coldwater, Ohio City 750. We'll move further to the north. If you're watching this stream on your cell phone and you know people in the path of some of these strong storms, feel free to take a screenshot, send it to them. Let them know that we're watching. Share this with people that you know so that we can continue to keep everyone apprised of the ongoing strong to severe storms. Right now, I don't have any reports coming in on any channel that I have. I only have more reports of a funnel cloud in just south of Lancaster. That was the only reason why I've been focusing on that the past 10 minutes. I don't have anything coming north of Crawfordsville, any reports yet. That tornado warning will expire here in the next 3 minutes. Regardless of the rotation, I am getting decent confirmation on radar that there are 60 to 65 mile per hour wind gusts just to the north of Crawfordsville that are approaching Darlington. Definitely one of the stronger storms of this particular event so far in terms of what we're looking at for wind gusts. I do want to take a quick break here before we watch a little bit more of these severe thunderstorms, and once again give a shout out to our Indy Roof Restoration. They're providing our sponsorship today. Storm rolls through your area, you're wondering whether there's any damage, they'll come out for free. They'll get up on the roof, make a photo report, walk you through everything, totally free, no pressure. Great group of people to work with. You can give them a call at 317-886-7436 or check them out at indyroofandrestoration.com. I am still seeing some reports of tornado sirens for Lafayette and Purdue. There is no active rotation for Purdue or Lafayette. It's the only reason they're sounding is because of the tornado warning that is currently on the southern side of Tippecanoe County at this time. I do want to get more into these cells here, give some updated time. Indianapolis first. I really want to time out this cell in northwestern Ohio. This one has the look, and I actually have some severe hail reports associated with it as well. Northwest of Defiance, amateur radio, we've got a 1-inch hail report. Bryan, Ohio, northwestern, another inch report. If I turn on our hail tracks, we are looking at hail of about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, which checks out based on current observations. Best hailer so far today in terms of storms. Let's time this out. We'll get a time track on there, and then I will return to central Indiana. This storm is moving pretty quickly, getting actually now about 72 miles per hour on it. This particular segment, you see these darker pockets of DBZ. We're dealing with the purple and the blue. Those are the cores we need to watch for severe hail in particular. Time out the entire line over the next hour. We're getting close to 72. Toledo, 730, Perrysburg, 734, Bedford Township, 722, Fremont, 802, Findlay, 750, Defiance, 717, Napoleon, 720. Napoleon, Defiance, you are under the severe thunderstorm warning for large hail and damaging wind gusts. We're continuing to watch storms in northeastern Ohio. Outside of a storm that between Akron and Youngstown is starting to show more subsevere characteristics. Thus far, outside of that one tornado warning storm that's now towards Grove City, Pennsylvania, not much to discuss right now. I do think that as the storms, in central Indiana push more to the southeast, Dayton, Columbus, especially after 9 p.m., you need to be on the lookout for those storms as they track more southeast. Okay, let's get into timing of these cells and take a look. A tornado warning has been allowed to expire for northern Montgomery. I'm going to check for rotation on that particular cell. Continuing to see very strong wind gust potential, likely some 60 to 65. Now working between Crawfordsville and Linden and approaching the Montgomery-Boone County border area. I want to time out this cell specifically. That's still holding at 60 miles per hour. New severe thunderstorm warning on the underbelly of it, and that's going to be showing up on Clarity here in just a second. That's going to now include Crawfordsville, just to the north of Newmarket, and Jamestown, and that's going to be for gusts of 60. I would say I'm still waiting. I would warn it for 70 if I was National Weather Service, but let me see what they end up doing. Oh, that's the destructive tag. Okay, they're going 80 mile per hour possible winds, so 80 miles per hour with quarter-sized hail. So this orange warning that you see here is a destructive severe thunderstorm warning. I was guessing 70, they went 80. Let's get timing on that immediately. I am also timing out the part that you may not be able to see on radar here towards Alamo. There's a little bit of a gust front out ahead of it. And that will require some explanations here on this. Let's focus right now along and to the north of the blue dashed line. I will come back to those of you south of the blue dashed line momentarily. This is the current active cell that is capable of producing quarter-sized hail. And the northern edge, you can see here, 70 to 80 mile per hour winds approaching Darlington, 723, Lebanon, 739, Zionsville, 750, Sheridan, 745, Cicero, 755, Noblesville, 8 o'clock. Zoom in, Carmel, 757, Castleton, 803, Meridian, 8 p.m. The reason why I have included Indianapolis, Brownsburg, Avon, Danville, North Salem, Rochdale, a couple reasons. The warning you notice encompasses, and you guys can, there we go. I'm going to make this orange just so you can see the current destructive severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued, that inner outline area. And I do see that tornado warning. I will move that up in just a second here. The reason why I have went ahead and included south of this blue dashed line is because I am seeing more of an outflow boundary associated with it that can continue to hold that stronger gust potential as it approaches the greater Indianapolis area into Hendricks County. But in addition, can also potentially fire up some additional storm development to the south. So Rochdale, North Salem, Danville, Avon, you're in a conditional time, if you will. I want to see whether we can see some additional cells develop. But either way, let's be prepared if you're in Hendricks and Boone County, south of where the main cell is, for some strong wind gusts of around, I would say 70 at this point along the southern edge. We will need to watch this. The earlier time frame for the gusts for Indianapolis, if this gust front can hold, and if we see additional storm development, would be closer to 810 for Indianapolis, Greenwood 820, Lawrence 810. I am skeptical right now of the exact timing for these locations. So bear with me. We will watch this. Right now, I'm more concerned about northwestern Hendricks and Boone County for those strong 70 to 80 mile per hour gusts. Let's talk about the new tornado warning that has been issued. That is for the cell working over Tipton County at this time. I do see a bit of a notch on this cell, albeit weak, definitely some brief spin up potential. Area of interest currently with the rotation, there's a couple minor notches here. And let me be very clear, when I'm talking minor, I'm not saying that there's no tornado potential. If you're under the tornado warning, you need to be seeking shelter. I'm just taking a look at the radar and evaluating what I'm seeing. These are the areas there we're seeing a couple notches. I'm seeing one about 1.5 miles north of downtown Tipton. And the current tornado warning, just to read this off, is until 7:45. Storm capable of producing a tornado. It's just radar indicated rotation at this point. This is going to be northern Madison, southeastern Howard, northeastern Hamilton, and Tipton counties for the next 24 minutes. Anderson is not under a tornado warning at this time. Anderson and Cicero are not under tornado warnings. The only locations that are under tornado warnings are in this red area: Tipton, Sharpsville, Elwood, Frankton, Alexandria, Summitville. Those are the only areas under the tornado warning, and I would make sure to be seeking shelter as that storm approaches. I'm going to get a timer on this here. We are seeing some reports that have been called in. I'm still getting 60. Let's time out this entire cell. 60 mile per hour gust, quarter size tails, still a concern with this activity. Of course, the main risk we are watching right now is the tornado warn portion of the cell. I am going to include Anderson and Chesterfield Springport in the timing of this cell. It may pass just to the north, but to be on the safe side as it moves, I want to go ahead and at least include those areas. 750 Anderson would be where we need to watch the southern edge of the storm. Muncie, 755. Gaston, 750. Gas City, 745. Hartford City, 8. Ridgeville, around 8:15. Pennville, around 8:11. Moreland, around 8:15. The area of interest and or strongest area of rotation that I am tracking is now moving east along what I believe to be is State Road 28. It is moving parallel to State Road 28. Let me zoom in here. If I remember correctly, I've got some family up there. Yes, that would also be East 150 South. Someone correct me if that's not correct. Based on velocity, this here, and this is approaching Elwood, is the current trajectory of the strongest part of the rotation that we are watching. Elwood, this is going to be at 7:30. You need to be in your safe spot as this tornado warned storm approaches. This is looking more impressive up here. Let's shift our focus to the north, this northern cell. I am not excited about that cell. East of Van Buren, northwest of Nottingham, that rotation is starting to tighten up. This cell, we need to watch for a potential tornado warning right here, south of Bluffton. I'm starting to see this begin to wrap up a little bit more here, and it's got that southeasterly turn. Again, that's the severe thunderstorm warning that does include Portland and Decatur. Let's time this one out. I am getting reports from this cell as well of large hail of around dime to about a quarter associated with this particular cell. I do want to watch for some tornado warning potential on this, and that's why I want to show our current timing on it. Guys, there's no one-to-one correlation between storms that are capable of producing large hail and tornadoes always, but usually when you have the storms that have the larger hail, that updraft signifies the intensity of the storm. And that's why I'm not surprised if we do end up seeing a tornado or strong rotation that's moving at 60. It would not surprise me given what we're looking at for the intensity. Let's time this one. New track, 60. We're going to go out 1 hour. Redo that here. Got to remember to keep hitting start drawing. Here we go. I am going to include Portland, same circumstances as Anderson. It's not heading directly for you, but you're on the northern edge. So let's, at this point, say 820, 60 mile per hour east-southeast, 820. Main concerns, Nottingham, Pennville, these areas in particular are where I want to watch this as it pushes from northwest to southeast, 732, 731, 810. In fact, if you're in these zones right here, I would go ahead and seek shelter just to be on the safe side. More of the hail risk is going to be along and northeast of that blue dashed area, starting to work into Ohio, Rockford 745, St. Mary's 805. This particular difference in pink shade, that's your 741 live here. So Minister, Botkins, Buckland 810. All right. Guys, meteorologist Matt Griffin is going to join us here. Let me go ahead and pull him up. While I'm doing that, once again, destructive severe thunderstorm warning for 70 to 80, eastern Montgomery, western Boone. And then we're continuing to watch that tornado warning cell in Tipton County and northwestern Madison. And those times are still active here. And Matt will be popping on here shortly. The cell that's currently approaching Danville, Illinois, or excuse me, working over Danville, Illinois right now, approaching the state border, I-74, that particular storm is producing more than likely some quarter to golf ball sized hail based on radar. I don't have any confirmed reports. There is a new hail report that just came in for that particular storm, unless that's from earlier. Let's show half-inch hail. We will go ahead and time this out. Timing so far on these, if you're continuing to follow along with our storm tracker, the main leading edge from Lebanon to Elwood, Fort Wayne, we're still getting 60 miles per hour, closer to 50 for this Danville cell. Let's shift our attention while we wait for Matt back to this tornado warned storm that's approaching Elwood, Frankton, and Alexandria. I am still seeing rotation, but it's not quite as prominent as it was about 10 minutes ago. Definitely seen some 60 mile per hour, 50 to 60 mile per hour potential and some quarter-sized hail. But that is all at this time. Continue to seek shelter if you're in the path of the tornado warned storm. Let's go ahead and do some updated timing for the general Indianapolis area. I am not seeing any additional thunderstorm development along the southwest. I am going to turn on our local radar, and I think you can see the outflow boundary a little bit better. Perfect. There we go. See this outflow from Lebanon to Advance, New Ross, New Market? That's why the severe thunderstorm warning was issued there, especially with what we were seeing on radar. And it does appear that that has been downgraded. I will look and see. And that's going to be for 70. So they have downgraded the warning to 70 miles per hour. That's still enough to cause damage. New Ross, Jamestown, Advance, Lebanon. We'll need to continue to watch if that can push more to the southeast. I'm going to go ahead and put an updated timer on that here. Okay, perfect. Actually, we'll use the blue line. This is the current cell between Thorntown and Frankfort that's capable of producing 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts and damaging winds, or 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts and some large hail. So latest timing, Noblesville, Cicero, Sheridan, 740, 750, 753, LaPel, 8 p.m., Indianapolis, right around 8:10. Now, keep in mind, I haven't seen any additional storms develop yet, but I do want to watch that outflow boundary for some stronger gusts here. Mr. Matt Griffin, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thought I'd hop on and join John. Certainly some nasty little storms. John, one thing I'm noticing in particular, and some of the team mentioned it in a separate chat, not everyone can see, but maybe the outflow starting to get out ahead of the storms towards, say, like Grand Park or Westfield, northwestern Hamilton County, that storm by Thorntown. Yeah, you can see it right there. You can see that little line from Cicero through Lebanon to New Ross, and that's the rain-cooled air that's starting to get out ahead of these storms. And when that occurs, it's really tough to get a tornado when you're behind that particular line. Now, you'll notice obviously that still tornado warned storm by Elwood, still tornado warned. That outflow hasn't gotten out ahead of that particular storm yet. John, I haven't looked recently at the rotation with that storm. Are you seeing any rotation?
No, it's broad and pretty weak at this point. It looks more like a hailer. We just got a confirmed report out of Elwood for pea-sized hail, so that's all that we've seen out of Elwood so far. But I have not at least seen any additional rotation that has me as concerned. I would think that they likely expire this warning as this pushes to the east. I agree, Matt. This outflow, that's a great point about the tornado threat, but even more so some potential for some stronger gusts. I haven't seen any reports yet outside of a couple 30 to 40 gusts, but I do want to, I'm going to go ahead and time out this entire outflow as it pushes to the southeast. And Matt, do you think that can aid in turning this storm by Lebanon or Thorntown, or do you think it's going to stay more just to the north of Indianapolis?
Well, looking at some of the ingredients, John, I think it may help the storm start to shift a little bit further to the south. as they start to move east. I do think it does, and that's what for especially some of you folks on Clarity who watched some of my updates earlier today. That's what the data tried to indicate. Was the southeast tug with time. So I do think a little bit that it does, and keep in mind that doesn't mean the storms in behind can't be strong to severe in nature. So keep that in mind for sure. These wind gusts are sneaky. You know, you don't see anything on the radar, then all of a sudden you get hit with a really strong wind gust. In fact, I think, John, that's more or less what happened with the state fair. A couple of years ago. It wasn't the storm itself; it was the outflow which caused the issues. So, John, I wouldn't be shocked if along that outflow there are some strong wind gusts with that.
I agree. And right now, the motion, for those of you following along with the storm tracker, I'm doing motion from the north to the south. So it's a little bit slower than the motion from the west to the east. So this is about 33 miles per hour that I just timed that outflow. And this would be the timing for when that gust potential associated with that gust front would be impacting your area. So Avon 813, Indianapolis 823, Fortville 805, Pendleton around 8. So not necessarily when the storm arrives there, but that's when the gust front that we'll need to keep an eye on.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
Nice shirt.
Yeah. Hey, we're twinning.
We're twinsies.
I was I think outside of my pullover, which it was 83 degrees today, Matt. I wasn't going to put on my BAM pullover today. Too warm for that.
Well, yeah, you're right. All right, John, I need you to get serious here.
Yeah, I know. I will. Let's talk about this cell in Covington, Matt. It's a bit on the hailer side, but this would be one that with that outflow coming to the south, maybe it starts to turn a little bit more to the southeast as well.
Yeah, I think so, John. Interesting. I guess this was from earlier, just west of Crawfordsville, a funnel cloud local storm report. Maybe I'm just now seeing that.
Yeah, my issue with it was that would place the area of rotation that we were tracking was about 7 to 8 miles to its north. So I was wondering if they were really seeing it, from the south more towards the north, just based on the orientation of the cell. But because at that time, Matt, the tornado warning didn't include Crawfordsville; it was just to its north. So
interesting.
Yes.
John, interesting the way this outflow is just oriented west to east. I think that can help foster some additional development. You've already got the storms off to the west as they kind of move east. If we're going to start to get into perhaps some flash flooding scenarios over the next 2 to 3 hours across portions of central Indiana.
Absolutely. And especially if these don't turn. I'm going to anticipate, Matt, here, and let me know if you disagree, that this Covington cell tries to turn a little bit more to the southeast. So for the sake of this timer, I'm just going to include Indianapolis just for us to watch it. I feel there is a scenario in which it can pass a little bit north to Indy, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that cell moving into northwestern Hamilton County, Westfield, Sheridan area, and to me, it already looks like it's trying to veer off to just a tick southeast, just a little bit.
And it's probably starting to follow that outflow. Well, I was trying to look at this cell near the state border. What would be the next round of storms for, say, Crawfordsville and Lebanon, with some of those damaging wind gust potential of 60 and large hail. So for those of you that are, and I do want to shift back to where we have that active tornado warning in northeastern Indiana again as well. But this would be your next cell that we would need to watch, leaving the Indiana-Illinois border and pushing more into central Indiana, given its current timing. I was getting a little bit slower times on this one, closer to 45. But
the which one? The one
This
by
is
Westfield?
Covington and West Lebanon, right along the Indiana-Illinois border. It just exited Danville, Illinois.
Let's see if I
And
get
and I may be wrong, and it may just stay the course and move more to the east.
Let's see here. Do some quick little math. 15. Well, how fast did you get it?
I was getting 45.
Seeing John some comments about that Tipton got hit with the tornado and Elwood getting hit now.
Yeah, I do see that here as well. Well, let me shift back up there. Tipton, the rotation map looking, let me switch over to our local radar. Rotation was enough for a brief tornado for sure. It looked a lot better up towards Tipton. I still see a weak notch that passed just south of downtown Elwood that's now more towards Frankton.
John, it looks like there could still be some rotation there, like and if by Alexandria.
Yeah, yep, just south, or yeah, west of State Road 9 is where it's at. It's weak, but it's there here. Let me circle so you guys can see what we're talking about. This is the area of rotation that we are watching. And it's broad, but it would be just southwest of Alexandria, and there's the new severe thunderstorm warning out ahead of it. In my opinion, Matt, that's not enough to warrant a tornado warning extension. They'll have to keep an eye on it. I'm scrolling through some of these comments here as well.
It's interesting, John. If you look at correlation coefficient, you can see just east of Elwood. That may be some debris that's already been swept up by the storm if the tornado had been picked up.
Yep.
You see it?
Yeah. I think initially I was looking at it, it looked a little bit more Haley because you've got that area between two of those cores. But that would look.
To me, that looks like a debris ball.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, at this point.
Which, John, we have correlation coefficient, right? You might be able to show people
We do.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, let me pull that up here.
So you can see that little, almost a lack of colors by Tipton, and then it starts to move east towards Elwood. We look at correlation coefficient. It's a radar product that we can assess. There's a million different radar products we can look at, and this one in particular helps. Essentially, it gives you the ability to see stuff, right? Stuff within the storm that's not necessarily a liquid water droplet, but it's just material that the radar's picking up. And whenever you get that different coloration, plus the rotation we saw in that exact area, right? It's a sign that a tornado have occurred there. So I know there's been some comments about that in the chat.
Yes, yeah, I'm seeing that here too. I'm on our. Yep, there is a. Yeah, I don't know if you just saw Hope put something in our BAM channel here on Slack. Well, you're looking at that. Let me pull out and look a bit more broad. This particular cell over here by Portland is starting to come a bit more to the southeast.
It's a bit tough to tell on the image Hope sent, but maybe show that for folks.
Yeah, that's
storm by Tipton. Yep. Could have been a big tornado on the ground.
zoom in right here.
Yep.
Yep. Or at the very least, some type of tornado in there. Since given where it is, and that probably being a wall cloud, Matt, I don't think that's a gust front. I think that would be more of a tornado type. Just by looking at that image.
Still looks like, John, just north of Alexandria, there could still be a little bit of rotation within that storm.
It looks a bit better, kind of that notch, as now it's between State Road 9 and 69.
John, give the folks a little bit of a timing with that particular storm.
I want to double check timing on it real quick, Matt. Getting about 50 here on it. Tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Let's time out where that rotation is strongest, which is approaching the border of Madison and Delaware County. You know what? It might be better for me to do this in 30 minutes, 30-minute increment here, just given how fast this is moving. Okay, so this is the area that we're watching the strong rotation push to the east. I would say roughly the I-69 corridor, that would be around 752. This is your 8 o'clock. That'll be just outside of Delaware County Regional Airport, north of Muncie. Albany 811, and then right at the end here, that'd be 815. So it's moving. This particular storm, we were getting about 50 on the area of rotation. This is timing out that area of strongest rotation that we are currently noting on radar.
Yeah, it'll just be worth watching that particular storm.
For sure.
Looking at it on the radar, it looks kind of odd. But it seems to have a history of at least producing a tornado.
I agree, for sure. I do want to pivot to this cell up here in Portland, between Portland and Geneva. It's turning more southeast now. It's in an awkward radar spot for our local radar, but I do think that there's some decent rotation that is starting to push more towards the Indiana-Ohio border area, towards Coldwater, St. Henry. And I want to get some additional timing on that. Matt, this is almost the cell that we were watching towards Wabash and Lancaster. I think we had a funnel cloud report on it earlier, and it's separated itself from that main line and is now marching southeast.
The one approaching the Ohio border, you said?
Yes. Yep.
It does have that interesting look on the radar of a little inflow notch. Yeah, John, there might be a little bit of rotation there near Portland, Indiana. In fact, I'm going to say something to the team.
I'm going to do a new track here. Let me turn off this timer. There we go. I'm going to do a new track. I'm going to include, oh, that's why I'm still in the cellular mode. I'm going to include the outer part of the hail core in the area of rotation as well. Getting timing of about 55 on it. And this one is fully pointed to the southeast. So Portland, 755, Fort Recovery, 8, Coldwater, 755.
Keep in mind that particular storm is out in Ohio, is currently warned for ping pong size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. John, that storm by Muncie, I don't know if you've read it out loud or anything, but it is warned for 70-mile-per-hour wind gust
70-mile-per-hour winds. Okay.
in Muncie.
Yeah, let's get
That
some.
one we've been talking about.
It looks like it can. Yeah, I don't disagree with that much, Matt. 60 to 70 on that for sure. We'll go ahead and time that out here as well.
And you can see the Boeing look of that on the radar, right?
Yep.
The apex of the bow, whenever you get a signature like that on the radar, is usually a sign of some very strong wind gusts. So I have no problem with the National Weather Service going with a 70-mile-per-hour wind for that particular storm. Still worth watching the rotation, of course, within it.
Matt, I'm getting about 60. Getting about 66 on the leading edge of it as it starts to bow out. It was getting 60. I'm not surprised it tried to speed up a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty typical of these type of storms. Let me see what I'm getting, John. That's probably pretty fair. You got how fast did that storm by Muncie?
Getting 66.
Yeah, I just got like 65 on it personally.
Okay. So this would be for 60 to 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts and large hail timing here. Winchester 811, Lynn 817, New Madison 830, Lewisburg 850, to name a few locations. Muncie, it's going to be in the next 10 minutes. You start seeing the leading edge. We are continuing to track some rotation on this particular thunderstorm as well. Right now, I think the wind gust potential as it starts to bow out, looking at it on radar, is more of the greater concern.
John, it's interesting that the National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning that far south of that storm in Hamilton County. I suspect they're probably trying to include a little bit of the outflow with the strong winds.
Right, I think so too.
And so if you're by Zionsville or on the north side of the 465 loop, really kind of the northern half of the Indy Metro, don't be surprised to see and to feel some strong wind gusts, although you may not necessarily get a bona fide thunderstorm. It's the wind shooting out ahead of that storm passing to your north that can still cause some strong wind gusts. Yeah, so keep that in mind over the next, north side of the Indy Metro area. What would you say, John, over the next 20 or so minutes?
Yeah, I'd say through about 8:20 here. Matt, I was looking at this cell. It's got a little tail on it as it approaches western Hamilton County. I don't see anything and given where the outflow is, probably one of those situations, Matt, it looks a little bit worse on reflectivity than, velocity isn't matching anything up.
John, let's hone in on more of where there could be some tornadic threats with this activity.
Yeah, I agree. Portland maybe would be the next best potential, I would say.
Yeah, certainly watching east of Portland towards just north of Eldora, north of Salina. John, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to look at some comments. A lot of folks. Madison County tornado warning.
Nothing coming up on my screen just yet. Let me check BAMET, see if there's. Just because I know we're getting a lot of questions of like overall timing for areas that might not be under the warnings. Before I want to quickly get back to our main concern areas real quick. This is the general timing of the particular storm line. Tyler Riggles is just getting ready. It's got my name on it. But this is one that Tyler Riggles just did. Northwest, southeast timing. We're getting around 55 is the general. And I agree. I've slowed a bit more on that. Obviously, as we continue to do this live, we're going to focus more on the individual cells and the timings, but this is the general threat area from central Indiana into Ohio. So I just wanted to highlight that real quick before we get back to
I've seen a lot of people, John, ask about Delaware County, and in my opinion, just based off the last few radar scans, I'm not seeing the rotation that we once saw.
Yes, I'm definitely not either.
So if there was a tornado there, in my opinion, we've probably lost it at this point. There is no tornado warning in Delaware County. That storm is warned for a 70-mile-per-hour wind gust, however, so it's still going to pack a punch, and let alone quarter-size hail in addition. The storm that has my interest right now in terms of rotation right now is by Noble, extreme eastern Indiana, along the Ohio border.
Yep, and that one is moments away, at least the outer edge of it, starting to work towards Portland. I think that the worst of it should stay just east, but yeah, Noble and then Fort Recovery, Coldwater, St. Henry.
Let me discuss with the team and see if we need a tornado warning on that.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and redo the timing. Looks like Dayton's terminal radar is down. So let's see here.
John, are you timing out that cell there along the Indiana-Ohio border?
Yep, that's what I'm doing right now. I just got 51, 52 miles per hour on it. And I'm gonna redo the leading edge timing.
Again, right now that storm from the National Weather Service is severe warned for ping-pong-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. But I am noting some rotation within that cell.
I'm going to time out the area of rotation. This is just the area of the strongest area of rotation that we're tracking here. Northwest, southeast, Noble 804, Fort Recovery 808, St. Henry 815. While there is not an active tornado warning on this, there is some tightening rotation and hail of ping pong ball sized hail possible, especially more for Coldwater, Montezuma, Chickasaw, and along into the northeast of that, blue dashed area. They did just put a new severe thunderstorm warning on it, Matt. Tornado detection possible, 60-mile-per-hour winds as well.
Storm on Muncie as we speak. Looks like some nasty hail, John. Quarter-size hail starting to move into downtown Muncie. Could have some 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts with that particular storm. In addition to that, John, it looks still like a nasty storm in the middle part of Hamilton County as well. Right now, not seeing tons of rotation within that particular storm, but still some strong wind gusts associated with that. Right now, it is currently warned for 70-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-size hail. And so these storms, whether they're producing a tornado or not, are certainly packing a punch in terms of hail and the winds.
Absolutely, Matt. And I just got a report out of west of Muncie of hail of about dime-sized hail, which is just under severe criteria, but based on radar at this point, you combine that, Matt, with 60-mile-per-hour winds, that's a severe storm as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and time out both of these as they track southeast. I haven't seen any reports out of center of Hamilton County. I texted a couple buddies as well. I've only gotten pea-sized hail reports, and briefly strong gusts was how it was described to me. So,
Mike, appreciate you.
Yeah. Move us back to linear. Again, for those of you following along, getting about 55 on these here. This cell capable quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Winchester 811, Palestine, Ohio 827, Webster, Indiana 830, Greenville, Ohio 835, Clayton 855, Phillipsburg 850, Bradford 845.
Yeah, John, and I wouldn't be shocked if we get 70-mile-per-hour winds from that particular storm.
Yeah, it's definitely got that bowing out of it, 60 to 70. Matt, let's time out this cell in Hamilton County as well, and then I want to touch base on this Crawfordsville cell that just got put under another severe thunderstorm warning. That'd be more of an impact for those of us in the north side that have not seen any storms at this point. And I do just see that flashed across my screen, a BAM tornado warning we just issued for that Portland cell.
Okay.
We will.
Approaching the cold water area.
Yep.
That's the storm as far as storms on the radar right now with the rotation that I see. Is that particular storm starting to shift into Ohio as well? Now, the National Weather Service has that warned for ping pong sized ball, hail, and 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but there is a little bit of rotation in it. So our team has put out a tornado warning. In fact, John, it looks like you have it up right there where that tornado warning is in effect for that particular storm.
Yeah, and Matt, I have the timing here is for the area of strongest rotation. From what I can tell, that timing, I just did that a couple minutes ago, is still good. Obviously, when you're dealing with a storm like this, we'll need to keep a close eye on any additional updates. But I think this is a great tornado warning by the Met team. Definitely, if you're in the path of this particular storm, and let me move that up. Yep, there we go. So everyone can see who's in it. I need to be seeking shelter immediately. In addition to the risk of ping pong sized hail, again, we're tracking strong rotation for potential tornado that can continue to track to the southeast.
Jessica asked a great question. How many mile-per-hour winds should you move to a basement? That's tough to say. I don't know what type of home or living that you're in. If you're in a building that's a little bit more not well grounded, I would say anything over 60 miles per hour. Once you get over 70 miles per hour, Jessica, I would say just go ahead and get into the basement, because then you're just talking about straight line wind damage that can produce not necessarily straight tornado like damage, but certainly can blow up and deteriorate a structure. So 70 plus as a general rule, but again, I'm not sure what kind of structure you're in.
Real quick, want to highlight this Noblesville storm. It's under severe thunderstorm warning. I haven't seen any hail reports. Actually, there's one that just came in west of Sheridan, dime-sized hail. Still being warned for quarter-sized hail. I haven't, in terms of radar, I think for this one, the risk of 70 is much lower. I would say 60 mile per hour gusts at this point for the cell. Working into Madison and Hancock County. Here's some timings as that continues to track to the southeast. Looks like Matt Muncie is getting quite the hailstorm right now as well.
Yeah, certainly. A half-inch size hail. I see a report of half-inch size hail, pea-size hail,
Dime size,
just
then, according to Scott.
dime size according to Scott. So combine that with the winds, John, and it's certainly, a nasty little storm. The storm to the west of Indianapolis, John, now another storm towards the Crawfordsville area. Still looks like it could produce some strong wind gusts, maybe some marginal hail as well, but not seeing any type of tornadic threat with that cell or the cell northeast of Fishers as well. These look like they're losing a little bit of the purples that are showing up, John, that we had earlier. We may be, those two particular storms, perhaps maybe losing a little bit of the hail threat, but that doesn't mean you still can't get some type of hail and some strong wind gust as well. And I'll be curious what type of wind reports we get right along 465 at this point, just north of Meridian Hills. Right along 465, there's a gust front around those areas right now, maybe producing some wind gusts that could be exceeding 40 miles per hour, despite there not being a storm.
Anything there? And I think that's a good point. Let me actually turn on our local radar and we can examine that. I did just get about 56, 57 miles per hour, by the way, Matt, on that cell by Crawfordsville. Here, this is what Matt is alluding to here. And you can see this on the local radar on your Clarity platform. See how it starts to work through Liston, Zionsville from northwest to southeast. That's the outflow boundary. This is where that gust potential of 40, perhaps locally up to 50 can be possible here as it continues to dive southeast towards into Marion County and further into Hendricks County as well. So far, I've gotten some 25 to 35 observation reports along the outflow. So you definitely should notice that there will be some gusts. Absolutely. This cell here that's approaching, it's starting to impact Montgomery, Crawfordsville, and Darlington. Let's go ahead and time that out.
John, is the radars in southern Ohio still down?
I believe.
Am I seeing that correctly?
Let me verify. I know the one in Dayton is down and the one in Cincinnati is down. So that may begin affecting the nationwide radar being a little bit more fuzzy.
Yeah,
definitely not a good day.
No, that's an absolutely terrible time for the radar to be going down. John, it's interesting. Obviously the storms on the southern edge and kind of the leading edge are going to pack most of the punch in this particular instance. Looking further north, I mean, some of these storms still look like they can get a little rowdy, John.
Yes.
With some hail. I wouldn't be shocked to see at times some marginal to even severe type of hail and some gusty winds. But in my opinion, John, outside of unless you're on the leading edge of some of these storms, it's going to be really hard to get any type of tornadic threat, in my opinion.
I agree. And the further the south these get to, that the ingredients aren't further there. But yeah, Matt, just confirming, terminal in Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus are down, and then the Wilmington radar is down as well.
Yeah, that's a big bummer, because that's greatly going to limit our ability to assess the individual cells especially as it gets further into Ohio. If our closest radar sites, say the Indianapolis radar, we're assessing these cells from a great distance away, and so that's really going to hamper our abilities to assess each individual storm getting into, especially central and southern Ohio. At least northern Ohio, we have the Cleveland radar where we can assess the storms. But further to the south, we're getting away from the radars.
Yep, for sure. And when I say terminal radar, for those of you that don't know, those are the smaller backup radars that oftentimes are around your bigger cities. Those are usually what we use when the big Wilmington radar goes down. So Real quick on this particular cell, I have included Indianapolis as we may need to watch for an additional gust front that can develop along the southern edge of this cell. But here's the current timing for the potential for 60 and quarter-sized hail: Zionsville 840, Meridian Hills 850, Sheridan 845, Jamestown 825, Avon 846. Kelly, I do not know the exact reason of the radars being down. I've not heard yet.
John, let's shift gears a little bit to the storm east of Muncie. Looking at the
tornado warning there as well, Matt. They just issued, National Weather just issued it in Western Ohio, by the way, as well.
Okay, so I'm glad the team got out ahead of that tornado warning. Certainly some signs of rotation with that particular storm. Right now, it's only a radar indicated rotation. If it were to be a confirmed tornado, where the National Weather Service can confirm the report, it would show up as a purple tornado warning. Right now, it is tornado warned based off radar indication. So keep that in mind. But I am interested in the storm east of Muncie.
Yes. Let me clear off some of our storm tracks here. You can see the core of it that went through them. Quite a lot of pings of hail, and it seems to be the biggest size that I've seen come in, at least on our comments on Facebook, and our M-pings have been dime sized. Either way, I'm sure there's definitely potential of some quarter-sized hail here as well. I will go ahead and time out this core. And for those of you that saw hail as well, and between Yorktown and Muncie, you can see those reflectivity values in purple and blue. And that's a good indication. And I'll even pull up our hail tracks. That should confirm.
John, real quick,
yes.
Let's give a quick shout out to our friends over at Indy Roof.
Of course, yeah, and a great, it's unfortunate when hail damage strikes, but our friends over at Indy Roof definitely are ready to help you support through tonight's storm. Rolls through your area. If you got any property damage, give them a call or send them an email. They'll come out to your roof, photo report, walk you through everything. There's absolutely no pressure. The team is local, and they know how to deal with insurance companies as well, which that can be sometimes tiresome. So give them a call, 317-886-7436, or check them out at indyroofandrestoration.com. Hail tracks here as well that Clarity have, Matt, support the generally 0.5 to 1 inch of hail as well for the timing. I will go ahead and time this one out again, and then I want to get to this tornado warned cell that is pushing a little bit further into Ohio towards that I-75 corridor here. Brett is on vacation. Brett is still with BAM Weather. I just saw that comment flash across the screen. Brett is on a well-deserved vacation this week. Was still getting about 55 on the leading edge of this particular cell here for the hail. Right now, Troy looking at around 9 p.m., Bradford 8:45, New Madison, Ohio 8:40, Palestine 8:35, Union City around 8:27. This is for the potential for quarter-sized hail and 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts. Our radar abilities are going to get a little bit tested given that we don't have as many available in Ohio. We're going to continue to keep a close eye on these cells, and I would continue to favor 60 to 70 just based on as it starts to push more towards the border area here.
John, did they just extend the watch?
It looks like it on my other screen. Let's check here.
John, it looks like we've got a couple tornado warnings in Ohio.
Yes, yeah, that's why I want to move there as well, especially just north of center. Yep, they did just extend the severe thunderstorm watch. Now includes Terre Haute, Johnson County, just to the south of the I-70 corridor here. Let's talk about some of these tornado warnings further into Ohio. Let me turn off the watches. And by the way, the tornado watch is in effect for the northern half of Ohio, which right now is where we're seeing the majority of the tornado activity. Let me evaluate and move my radar up here.
And I do, John, see a couple areas of rotation where these tornado warnings are. And so if you are in the path of these tornado warnings, Harpster, Ohio, towards Nevada, Bucharest, Upper Sandusky, I would certainly suggest taking shelter now. The other tornado warning approaching Berlin, Ohio, I would suggest taking shelter there as well.
And I'm getting 50-55 on these as well. Let's time out the area of strongest rotation. I'm going to start with this cell first, approaching New Philadelphia, Matt. I think that one, from what I can tell on radar, has the best potential for to produce a tornado. I don't have any reports of them yet, but as Matt said, make sure to seek shelter if you are in the path of these storms. Got 30 minutes here. Okay, here's the track at this point. Area of strongest rotation. New Philadelphia right now at 8:43. Now, New Philadelphia, you are not under the tornado warning yet, but we need to watch this cell as it is starting to push a bit more to the southeast. Between Millersburg and Holmesville, Fredericksburg, that's just south of Fredericksburg is where that active tornado warning is in effect. So these locations in particular, this is where we need to watch for the strongest part of the storm, the area of that stronger rotation to work in. Looking a bit further to the west, Upper Sandusky into Marion, and that's starting to approach the US 23 corridor. It's a really noisy radar scan up there, Matt. It's the Cleveland radar is starting to hit a lot of the hail, and that's I think impacting what we can see.
It does look like rotation to me, though.
I agree.
Nonetheless, yeah. And it has that look on the radar. Anytime you see that little hook, that little notch, it's a sign. You look at velocity as well, and you can get a clear sign of rotation with that.
Yes, and it even looks like it's wrapping itself around. Yeah, for those of you that are between that US 30, US 23 corridor here, I'll actually let me draw where I'm seeing the greater rotation. Find a color that's easily legible. Let's use blue. This is the concern that I have right now for the area of strongest rotation, and that is pushing from northwest to southeast right now. We're going to time that out, getting about 55 on this one as well.
Looks like a comment. Someone said a tornado touchdown in Jay County, which would have been that
cell, yeah.
That cell we eventually tornado warned along the Indiana-Ohio border. Given some of the signatures I saw rotationally on the radar, I would not be shocked if there was a tornado with that particular storm that passed over Jay County. That storm is now in Ohio at this moment. It is currently tornado warned just northeast of Eldora, east of Coldwater.
Yep. Yeah. I want to get some timing on that, Matt. I was also looking through some of the reports just across a lot of severe storm reports across northwestern Ohio with these storms as well. Gusts of 60, large hail of quarter to ping pong ball sized hail behind this. This is our latest track for the Nevada 826, North Robinson 842, kind of the end of this. Switch it so you guys can see this a bit better. I don't think that helped. Right here at the very edge, this would be your 846, would be when the area of strongest rotation begins to work northwest to southeast here. Looking back between Winchester and Fort Recovery, St. Henry, I would, at this point, we're going to retime this as well. Yeah, man, from what I can tell, I still see some rotation on it.
Yeah, it's getting far from the Indy radar. John, and while you time that out, one thing I'm at least noting is the storm a little bit further southwest by, I'm looking at some city names, Locentville, Bluntsville, the one just to the east, John. We'll need to watch that one closely. It looks like it's trying to develop a hook. Again, that's just north of Dalton. So after you time that out, let's look into that storm as well, John.
Okay.
Because that storm has my interest. From just looking at it on the radar, there may be some rotation that's trying to develop in that storm, and just given that some of the history of some of these storms, especially it seems as they move further to the east, I would not be surprised at that storm starting to approach the Ohio border, just south of Winchester, can drop a tornado.
I agree, and I just saw a comment. Yes, those Ohio radars are still. This is the area of strongest rotation of the cell, the tornado warned storm that is now just to the south of Coldwater. You can even see that hail core. That's at least fourth quarter sized hail, I would say, just south of Montezuma as well. Towards I-75, we'd be looking at right around 850. We zoom in and pick up some other cities. Minster, 835. Matt, you're going to have to help me out with this. Is it Fort Loramie, 836?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
that sounds right. Yeah. That's the area. Tornado, for those of you that are still under that tornado warning, New Weston, North Star, Yorkshire, continue to keep a close eye on it. I think the area of rotation can slide a bit to your north. Osgood and Yorkshire, we need to keep an eye on the southern edge as well. As Matt said, yeah, let's switch back and take a look at this Winchester cell. Matt, it's not perfectly out of the south, but looking at some of the observations towards like Newcastle and Richmond, you've got a little bit of a southwesterly 10 to 15 knot wind. I can't say I'm surprised that I'm starting to see some of these begin to rotate as they get a bit more mature. And they actually just extended that severe thunderstorm watch a bit further, or severe thunderstorm warning to now include Webster, the northern part of this county here. We'll wait for that to pop up. There it is.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah,
that's that storm just north of Modoc. To me, that's the next one to watch for any type of rotation within that storm. What's that warning say, John?
Let's take a look here. New MD just came out too. Just real quick, timing on this cell getting about 60. So we'll time that here momentarily.
So it seems like, John, we've been getting 55, 60 miles per hour.
Yep.
For these storms.
Yep, that would be. I would say that's what we've been getting. Let's put this back out.
Isabel, you asked if Marion is out of the clear. You're about ready to get hit with a pretty strong thunderstorm. You're actually in a severe thunderstorm warning right now. Quarter-size hail. I wouldn't be shocked to see some wind gusts 50 to 60 embedded in that as well. I don't know where you're at in Marion, but especially the south side of Marion. A pretty nasty storm there. Given its location compared to where the better rotation is, I don't think a tornado, but certainly some strong winds and some hail still possible for you, Isabel.
Did have a comment about Crawford County. I'll move back up to that one here momentarily here, Brighton. This is the storm capable of producing 60 to, I would say, locally 70 mile per hour gusts and 1 inch hail. We need to watch the southern edge of the storm, especially if you're an economy, Fountain City, New Madison, New Paris, as it approaches the border. Matt mentioned the southern edge, or as I like to refer to it, as the underbelly of the storm, where we have a little bit of those better southerly winds. That would be where we need to keep a closer eye on some rotation potential. Regardless, timings, Dayton 910, Tip City 903, Northampton at 915, and Greenville 836 with the leading edge of this particular severe thunderstorm. Back up here towards Crawford County. I did see a question pop up about that cell in particular.
I just had a friend of mine who's kind of by the Tipton area send me a video of that potential tornado that was by Tipton.
Wow. I can pull it up here. While Matt pulls that up, for those of you asking in Crawford County, this timing is still, at least where I can see the strongest part of the rotation, is still accurate. Pull up my drawing tool. I'm watching the southern edge, but I still think the area of strongest rotation is within that cone. This is around 8:30. Yeah, I like the drawing. I think that helps us emphasize this. This is about 8:45. So it's continuing to move very quickly. Bucyrus should stay, if I'm pronouncing that, but Bucyrus, I don't know. Now that one's got me, but there in south of the US 30, I think the rotation stays a little bit to the south of you. We do need to keep an eye on some of that hail risks as well. The core is just to the north of the rotation.
I was just quickly looking at some messages, and Sky Koning asked an interesting question. Why are storms always at night? Well, they're not always at night, but you seem to see them a lot at night. And the reason for that is the winds aloft up in the atmosphere at night, they typically start to pick up. And that has to do with something called decoupling. So we start to lose the friction from the daytime heating of the air, and it allows the winds aloft to start to speed up. And when those winds aloft start to speed up, we usually get stronger winds aloft and bigger upward motion. So it's very common, especially in the warm time months, for something called a low-level jet to pick up at night. And as that low-level jet picks up, you get the strong winds at night. Bucyrus.
Bucyrus. There we go. I was wanting some help there on that city.
Thank
Matt,
you, folks.
I got your video queued up here. I think you guys can see this. Check that out. And Matt, where'd you say this? You said Tipton County?
Yeah, this is by Tipton.
I'll play that one more time.
It's hard to see, hard to tell exactly, but no, given some of the reports we saw, just obviously wouldn't be shocked. So these storms still often behind, John, in north central Indiana. Still some hailers. Wouldn't be shocked for some sporadic strong wind gusts as well. I'm just looking at some of the radar returns by Kokomo as well. But certainly the areas of interest by Lynn, Indiana, some potential rotation, and still have the tornado warned storm by New Bremen, Ohio, by Bucyrus, west of Mansfield. And it looks like, John, did they drop the tornado warning into eastern Ohio? It still looks like a decent little hook just west of New Philadelphia.
It's about to expire. It looks like they have extended the severe thunderstorm warning for another hour. I didn't see any extension of the tornado warning.
I think if you're towards New Philadelphia, Peril, south of Strasburg, Ohio, there's still a little area of rotation within that storm. I would not let your guard down, in my opinion. I still think there can be some rotation with that particular storm.
I agree, and some large hail here. Right now, this timing is continuing to hold on where that rotation is 8:29. That's right between Walnut Creek and where my cursor is. That's about where the area of interest is as it pushes to the southeast.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, real quickly, they did drop the severe thunderstorm warning for Boone County in the western half of Indiana. We're continuing to keep an eye on those cells for some strong to severe risks, but right now I'm not seeing anything else of concern for tornadoes for north central Indiana right now. Outside of a couple of these cells, we're watching for rotation near Marion and just to the southwest of Union City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the problem, John, is the leading edge boundary is over Indianapolis as we speak.
Yep.
And so you get north of that boundary, the storm is something called, it's an elevated thunderstorm. And so the route of the inflow of the storm is not based at the surface, but aloft in the atmosphere. And really a tornado is essentially a area of inflow that's rooted right at the surface. So if your storm's not rooted at the surface, you just can't get a tornado, but you can still get strong to severe storms. Most notably, elevated thunderstorms are notorious for hailing type of storms, but can produce some strong wind gusts at times as well. And we're seeing that, right? That storm that's moving east of Marion, still is severe warned.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And it does look like it does have a nasty hail core within that particular storm. National Weather Service has that warned for quarter-size hail only. But to be honest, John, I wouldn't be shocked if that storm could produce some strong wind gusts in excess of over 40 miles per hour as well, heading towards Montpelier and Hartford City as well.
I certainly would agree. And I put the current hail tracks on here. And remember, even if it's only showing 1/2 inch to 1 inch, that doesn't mean that it can't produce higher sized hailstones. But what it does tell us as meteorologists, and then as you, as our clients and viewers, is that this storm is continuing to be capable and is more than likely producing hail, especially as it makes that track more towards Upland and Gas City. I'll put a timer on this as well. About 50. I will zoom in here and Upland 834, Hartford City 842, Shamrock Lakes 840. Try to zoom in and get some more locations to populate. Pennville 856, Greene 9 o'clock, and then Portland again 907, Bryant 908. You've already seen your share of strong to severe thunderstorms. This will be another one that we'll have to watch specifically for damaging winds and large hail.
John, show the folks when you get a chance the QR code if anyone's interested in our Clarity application. For clients of ours, I went live this morning. I went live early in the afternoon, just discussing the latest with this risk. And right now, I would say my area I made in my map, especially my afternoon updates, verifying pretty darn well, John.
I would say so, especially with these hail reports. If you guys see the upper right-hand corner of my screen, that's the QR code to scan for Clarity Home. A lot of great features on here, in addition to not only our live streams that are for Clarity clients only, where we discuss the storm risk hours, days in advance. We also have nowcasts, customized insights, a lot of great tools to keep you and your family safe, you and your business and operation safe when you're dealing with severe weather.
John, it looks like the team put out a BAM tornado warning towards New Philadelphia area. I'm not sure if you have BAM alerts turned on.
I think I did. I must have turned it off. There it is. Okay, perfect. Okay, Sugar, Dover, New Philadelphia, Goshen, Bowerston, and is it Jewett? We're gonna have to talk to Jake and Vince on getting my pronunciations a little bit better for Ohio here. Let's time out that cell again. Our BAM meteorologists have just issued a tornado warning for it, and there's definitely still a hook feature on it. Decent southerly winds. We'll hold it around 50. Here, I'll put that on red. Okay, Dover 844, Roswell 852, Barnhill 852. Jewett 915. And then while these areas, Hopedale towards Smithfield, are not actively under a NWS or a BAM tornado warning just yet, I've included those in the timing as well. This is about an out. So we don't have any current reports suggesting there's a current tornado on the ground. We believe there's sufficient rotation and large hail that is pushing northwest to southeast. Shelby, these are all moving fairly fast compared to the past couple of severe events that we've dealt with. 55, 60 miles per hour. Our speeds are coming down a bit here. We're now closer to 50. All the more reason to have that important storm tracking tool, Matt, as when we let you know what the speed of it is, whether through Nowcast, whether on the live stream, you can pull up that tracking tool and use it. I'm loving using it. I think I've gotten used to it. For a while there, Matt, I kept forgetting to hit new track. So I was so excited to just start and get it set up. But it's a useful tool. I love having multiple tracks up at once. It helps us verify how our timing's doing.
Yeah. And John, real quick, it looks like I don't know if you saw this, a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued just north of Crawfordsville towards Wingate, Waynetown, Darlington, Thorntown. Looks like, once again, this particular storm is warned for hail only, quarter-size hail. In this particular instance, you can see wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour as well. I imagine that that will be somewhat common in north central Indiana and perhaps behind some of these tornado warned, severe warned storms in central and eastern Ohio, as these storms become, like I mentioned, elevated in nature, where they're rooted kind of up in the atmosphere. If the warning, you read the warning and it's for quarter-size hail,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
In fact, there's the National Weather Service will put out something called a special weather statement when a storm is sub-severe. They have one just southeast of South Bend approaching North Webster, Warsaw. Likely, I'm going to assume for some type of hail threat, wind gusts 40 miles per hour and half-inch hail.
And not much change on the speed. This other cell too in front of it, Matt, that's approaching, that was initially warned in eastern Boone and western Hamilton. I'm seeing lightning on it, and that's about all. There's one right ahead. So as that starts to approach the north side of Indianapolis, I'm not seeing any strong to severe thunderstorm concerns.
John, a lot of folks, I've seen a lot of questions talking about Indianapolis, Bloomington, Edinburgh. Is it going to drop south of downtown Indy? Maybe you can speak to that just a little bit more to help address a lot of those questions for some folks.
Absolutely. Well, and that was kind of the battle, if you remember at the beginning of our stream, that we were talking about as to if the coverage can get as far south as Indianapolis. This cell in particular, before I look at some future radars, Crawfordsville 843, Zionsville 923, that continues to push to the southeast. We'll need to watch for some quarter-sized hail. We are seeing some of these downpours and storms push to the south, but right now I would say that the majority of the severe risks are more to the east. The next area that we will need to track, it's going to look messy on radar, but it's going to be northern Illinois, northwestern Indiana, to see if we can get another line form and push to the south. I have not checked, Matt, to see if we have a new favored model. We can go ahead and look at the 12Z RRFS and compare it. What time is it? 8:30. This is what the RRFS has now, Matt, and it's not terrible into northern half of Ohio. I think it's done decently well, a bit maybe too far south and too together into central Indiana. It would show that we start to see some additional storms kind of firing off as that boundary pushes to the south between Springfield and Indianapolis after 10 p.m. So for those of you that haven't seen storms that are in Indy and that are along and south of that I-70 corridor, I do think we need to keep an eye on a risk for some damaging wind gusts of 50 plus, some very isolated large hail. But I think at that point, the tornado risk is likely over. I am curious real quick while we're on this here, Matt. I want to look at the curious to see how the latest trips is doing. Guys, synopticwx.com. It's a great state-of-the-art new modeling site that we use as meteorologists here. It's on beta version. It's free for you to use. You can go there and look at weather models just like we do.
John, real quick, it looks like a new tornado warning issued in central Ohio. It's the extension of that one south of Mansfield, approaching Frederickstown, Danville, Ohio, Millwood, Ohio. Maybe get the folks a timing of that particular storm.
Yes, let's go ahead and take a look here.
Jasmine, I'm not sure where you're at. The temperature dropping between now and the morning. Eventually, the cold air coming in will, but before that temperature drop comes, that's going to be more or less a catalyst of storms to form. Great question, though.
Getting about 60 miles per hour, Matt, on this tornado warning storm. I agree with the tornado warning issuance. I do think it's beginning to wrap around a bit more. Here's some additional timings along the leading edge to name out a few. And this is in Ohio, in Fredericktown, 9 p.m., Howard, 9:12, Brookhaven, 9:15, Nashville, 9:12, Butler, 9 o'clock, Lexington, 8:50, Cardington, 8:45.
Yeah, Jasmine, in terms of Lebanon, eventually it'll calm down. It's probably going to be a bit of a loud night for you, Jasmine. In my opinion, given where you're at in Lebanon, the tornado threat, I think you avoid the rest of the night, but still some large hail and at times some gusty winds, 40, locally 60 miles per hour will be at play. So it'll take a little bit of time, but a loud evening for you.
Wanted to quickly pivot back to our cell here a little bit further to the east where we have an active tornado warning. Still seeing, that looks like rotation to me. I'm sure it's picking up some hailstones on the Cleveland radar, but I still agree with that tornado warning in effect. That's starting to now approach New Philadelphia. Starting to hit right now, 8:42. The outskirts should be there in the next couple of minutes. So make sure there, Roswell, Barnhill, make sure you are in a sheltered in place, lowest interior room as this storm passes.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at some of the questions, John, and when you get a chance, give another shout out to our friends over at Indy Roof.
Yes. Yeah, let me pull this up here. Unfortunately, we've seen a lot of hail reports that are confirmed, but you need a trusted name in the business, Indy Roof and Restoration, whether it's your roof or property that took any damage. These guys are the ones to call at 317-886-7436. They'll come out, they'll inspect it, take pictures. It's totally free, no pressure. They're local. Make sure to check them out at indyroofandrestoration.com.
Interesting question here. I'm trying to get to some of these questions, interact with some folks. Christy asks, can you explain how temp plays a role in severity? Well, there's a couple different ways the temperature can play a role in severity. One is a warmer air mass can just hold more moisture versus a colder air mass. And when you're talking about a warm air mass with some moisture, now you're talking about instability. And so naturally, you have an ability to get more instability. More unstable air equals more severe storms. In terms of temperature, as far as we're talking about temperature change, so whether we're coming from colder to warmer, that would be a warm front, or we're coming from warmer to colder, that would be a cold front. these changes in temperatures note a focal point where there's colliding air. There's different air masses. And so as your temperature changes, you're getting a front to move through, a focal point for the air to go upwards. And that's another focal point for storms. And so, from a weather forecasting perspective, obviously temperature is a big deal, but it's more complicated than temperatures. But I would say especially the changing of the temperatures is what plays a vital role in the severe threat.
Absolutely, Matt. Yeah, I just pulled up the air temp overlay as well, and you can see where the differences in temperatures are at this time as well. Lines up fairly well.
Someone asked, is Hartford going to get a tornado? Hartford, Indiana. I believe that's in northeastern Indiana. Is that right? I'm not sure if there's a Hartford, Ohio.
I didn't know if they were talking about Hartford City.
Oh, maybe maybe that's why I'm getting confused with.
This particular cell. They just expired. It looks like I probably don't have my strong storm statements on here. Trying to keep the screen a bit more clear. There we go. I'll make sure that stays severe. There is a strong storm statement that was just issued for Hartford City and Portland. Looking at the latest radar, I'm going to assume you were talking about Hartford City. I don't see any rotation at this time. The storm looks quite high up. I would continue to favor some pea-sized hail with this storm as it pushes to the east.
I'm scrolling up in some of the comments. Someone asked, so the tornado risk is low for Brown County. I think it is. I
agree. I would feel comfortable at this point almost saying that it's very close to zero for Brown County, that far south.
Dominic Shelby asked, I'm currently in Peru, Indiana. I'm curious on if I should expect any more hail or if we are in the clear. I'm concerned I'm already seeing some development off in Western Illinois right now, that there can be some more hail threats through the night, unfortunately. A bit like what we see now on the radar, just eventually bleeding east into the overnight. So I think still some hail risk for you. I would venture to guess too, John, probably not going to be as robust hail makers that far north by the time those storms get into Indiana. But some, I don't know, pea-sized hail, John, I think is certainly still at play.
Yes, I would agree with that. Locally, can't rule out something closer to dime-sized. I think the larger hail risks are likely going to be a bit more isolated. Matt, I'm getting a lot of questions here that I want to address, and let me know if you disagree. But I'm going to draw a line on here, and if you are west of this line, I am going to say the tornado risk is very, very low. But I think it would be easier if we draw a line here, because I keep seeing, what about this county? What about that county? Let's just draw this out. At this point, I'm keeping a close eye on a couple of these cells in central Indiana. I'm just not really concerned about tornado potential there. I would say if you are west of this blue line, I would say the tornado risk is very, very low for you. Matt, let me know if you disagree, but I just seeing these questions. Guys, look at the map here. If you're west of this blue line, your tornado risk is very, very low going forward. If you're east of this line, we are still tracking some cells that are capable of producing a couple tornadoes. Cells north of Dayton, cells south of Mansfield, and cells southeast of Canton, which I do want to go ahead and look at here. I did see a new severe thunderstorm warning also, Matt, just popped up for northeastern Montgomery, western Boone. It looks like they're saying an inch in diameter hail and 50-mile-per-hour gusts. We'll come back to that in a second here.
Is that the one by Frankfurt or the one? Yeah,
the one just south of Frankfurt. Yeah, it's Darlington, Thorntown.
Okay.
It's probably Darlington's third time, I think, being under a severe thunderstorm warning, if my count's right. So taking a quick look here at these, I did see a couple more questions pop up into Ohio. We're continuing to maintain our tornado warning on this cell that is now pushing east of I-77, more for Roswell, right between Leesville and Roswell is where we're watching. Zoom in and we can see this a bit more here. This is where we're keeping an eye. That's 8:49, so that timing for Roswell, I think, is going to be perfect in terms of where we can start to see some of that stronger rotation. We don't have any confirmed tornado on the ground yet, but there is still some rotation that we're monitoring as this cell pushes to the southeast. This larger tornado warning cell, Chesterville, Fredericktown, Lexington, the area of interest here, and it's getting really messy on radar. I still see a bit of a hook.
Yep, definitely.
And that would be right here in that zone. Guys, I'm intentionally being broad here just because I'm not dealing with the greatest radar data, but that's where I see the greater concern for some rotation at this point. I do think it's along and north of Chesterville, but if you're in Fredericktown right now, that needs to be the area of concern that we're watching. I think it's making a direct line right there at this point, and no disagreements on that tornado warning.
Yeah, someone just asked about Fredericktown.
Yes.
John.
Okay. Let me get some more timing here.
You said you think it goes just north of Fredericktown?
No, just north of Chesterville. I think
Fredericktown's,
Fredericktown's right there. I'll turn my drawing tool off here.
Or they said Fredericksburg, not Frederickstown. So my apologies.
Okay. Where Fredericksburg, I think, is just northeast. Yeah, here it is. Yep, Holmesville, just to my northeast. Take a look there as well. Fredericktown right now, 9:10 p.m. Eastern is when we see the main area of rotation. I do, in case it can start to slide a bit more southeast, let's watch for if you're in Mount Vernon as well. There's the timing on that.
One thing I want to bring up again, unfortunately, both the Dayton radar, the Columbus radar, the Wilmington radar, and the terminal radar just south of Cincinnati in northern Kentucky, they're all down right now. And that's really unfortunate because as these storms move into central and southern Ohio, our ability to assess these storms individually are going to be quite limited because we just don't have the radar data. It's kind of a little bit mind-boggling to me that all of the radars happen to be down at this moment. But that's what we're dealing with at this moment in time.
And you can even see some of that here, the green pick up on it there. You can tell there's no radar down there currently active in Wilmington. Fredericksburg. Matt, do you remember what the question was for Fredericksburg here? Were they asking about tornado potential for the rest of the evening?
They just said, what about Fredericksburg, Ohio? That was it.
Gotcha. Right now, the two tornado warning cells are splitting you, and I think this one here, just southwest of Mansfield, does stay to your south. I think the greater tornado risk should stay to your south too. We'll need to watch for some of these additional cells behind the main wave for some damaging winds and some very isolated large hail. But once this pushes to the southeast, your tornado risk should be finished here within the next 30 to 60 minutes.
I still think it's worth monitoring this cell by Sherrodsville, Bowerston, Leesville, and Eastern Ohio. East of New Philadelphia, this one that we still have a tornado warning for.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the tornado warning we have is an excellent path of what we have. We'll need to look to extend that. Well, I'm starting to get in range of the terminal radar for Pittsburgh, so that's a good sign. Definitely a hail core.
Yeah, it certainly looks like some large hail embedded in that storm east of New Philadelphia. But I'm still seeing some hints of rotation with that storm. So if you're in the path of that, Leesville, Bowerstown, we do have a BAM tornado warning on that particular cell. I don't think it would hurt to seek shelter.
I agree. In fact, I'll go ahead and zoom in on these areas again. These locations in particular need to be seeking shelter, and further, southeast Hopedale, Bloomingdale need to keep a very close eye on this as it continues to push northwest to southeast.
Yep. Red Prince, yes, we are.
Just real quickly, Matt, checking on that cell northwest of Indy. I'm not seeing anything that impresses me on that. There's the brand new severe thunderstorm warning. It's a big one here that now includes Springfield, Ohio, and just to the north of Dayton. This one, it's not letting me click on it. Let me move over here for a second.
Tornadoes in Martinsville, Indiana, likely not, in my opinion. That risk is incredibly low. A BAM tornado warning is a warning we issue if we deem that is necessary. So based off our own analysis of the rotation on the radar.
Yeah, this big one here for some of these cells, Matt, and this is probably, we're getting into radar interference, but I would say this is probably a little bit more of an organized line. 60 mile per hour wind gusts. They do highlight, the NWS highlights tornado potential, or tornado detection possible.
Yeah, the storm of concern, John, is that storm by Arcanum, northwest of Dayton. That's the storm that we had been watching that had some hints of rotation within it. That far southern edge storm, John, south of Greenville there. In my opinion, just based off of what we've seen from that storm before it's kind of gotten out of the radar range, that would be the areas to watch. So you can see it looks like John's making a beeline to Tip City, Springfield, Ohio. Those would be areas to have a heightened sense of alert for that particular storm, because it has had a history of rotation. I'm not sure the National Weather Service has ever tornado warned it. I'm not sure we have either, John, if my memory serves correctly. But that would be one to watch.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to base this a little off of.
Appreciate you, Red Prince.
I'm going to time out a little bit ahead of this here, using satellite a bit to help me. Still getting around 50.
Lindsay, you asked, do you think the storms behind these or less severe, more like wind and rain? Yeah, I think in particular, it's the wind and the hail.
We're going to take this out 2 hours for these particular cells. I want to really emphasize this part of Ohio, just given the radar outages. Springfield, 932, Grove City, 1012, Newark, 1026, Zanesville, 1055, Washington Courthouse, 1023. We'll zoom in a bit more, and there we go. We can zoom in on some of these timings a bit more. Columbus, 1008. So this is the timing for the severe thunderstorm warned areas. You can see the outer edge of this yellow lined area. That's the current severe thunderstorm warning. We're timing out ahead of that for where you can see some large hail gusts of 60. And yes, there is still some low end tornado potential for sure, as Matt mentioned. So I do not disagree with that. We'll need to keep an eye. Vandalia, Tip City, Troy, a little bit further to the north. Tipton County. Are you talking about right now? Laney, let me go look.
The way she said it, to me, it made it sound like was reported.
Okay.
It could have been from earlier. I mean, we got a lot of reports of something in Tipton.
Yeah, because I see something on velocity east of Frankfurt. I don't believe that's anything to.
It's just going to be tough, John.
Yeah.
In north central Indiana right now, just behind the initial boundary to get any type of additional rotation enough to produce a tornado. Because all those storms in north central Indiana, I've mentioned this a few times over the stream that since I've hopped on, they're what's called elevated thunderstorms. So the inflow of the storms aren't based from the ground, right? They're based somewhere up in the atmosphere. And think a tornado is essentially the updraft right at the ground. And so if your storm's not rooted at the ground, it's just very hard, if not impossible, to get any type of tornado.
Yep. No, I agree for sure. And you may still, even though it's getting pretty dark out, you may see some scud clouds or low hanging clouds, but we're past that. We should be past that for sure.
You know, John, I don't want to sweep under the rug as well. Obviously, we still have that tornado warning storm in north of Columbus. We still have that storm, interesting looking storm east of New Philadelphia right now as well. But just I'm looking at the radar right now, right? And you take a 30,000 foot view back, zoom away from the radar. And I'm looking especially like eastern Indiana, getting into Ohio, where we're starting to see a training situation start to unfold. And so, over the next 1 to 2 hours, some flooding concerns I could see start to develop, especially these storms that are moving east are moving to areas that have already seen rain. And so you're going to get a situation of some heavy rain that can start to develop.
Absolutely.
So,
yep.
Let's be on the lookout for some flash flooding risk, in my opinion.
Especially late evening, early tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow AM commute. We need to be keeping an eye on that, especially.
John, if we shift gears maybe just a little bit, if you look back off to the west by Springfield, Illinois, if you loop the radar, we are starting to see, looks like some storms are starting to reinvigorate, right, by Springfield. So some of you folks closer towards Indianapolis, south of Indianapolis, your severe threats not done yet. We still have a ways to go to produce some strong storms.
Yeah, Matt, I wanted to go look at, you brought up Mezzo earlier. I wanted to look for myself here where we've got plenty of instability to work with.
What do, okay, that's what I was going to ask you to look at.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still ingredients there. Matt,
MLK, John?
Let's see.
We're gonna get a little technical here. Surface space. I'm just curious. What John and I are doing now, we're analyzing the atmosphere and trying to see what type of ingredients are still left.
There's definitely opportunities if we can get some of these storms to come a bit more to the south. Matt, I'll show you the future radar. This is the latest trips. It's a bit off on seeing some of these cells along I-70 here so far. This is where we get towards midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Maybe trips a bit slower in the southeasterly extent. This is the latest future radar. And guys, we're looking over the latest data here. But there is going to be an organized line of showers, thunderstorms that is going to push southeast. There's no question on that. It's just the timing and the severity that we're currently looking at right now. If you're just now joining us, we are continuing to monitor the severe thunderstorms ongoing in Ohio. That's the area where we've got a couple warnings and a few tornado warnings. One towards just to the southeast at this point of New Philadelphia, more Frederickstown, Mount Vernon. That tornado warning going to remain in effect. For some reason, I can't click on it's not letting me click on the warnings. This tornado warning, I think, is in effect for another 15 minutes. And then our BAM tornado warning we're watching, this is the one, southeast of New Philadelphia that's working towards the West Virginia, Ohio border area. Right now, we've got a strong storm statement for Allen County, for Fort Wayne, Indiana. And that is going to be for gusts of 40 miles per hour and dime-sized hail. And that actually, Matt, starting to get a little bit more impressive on radar from a wind gust standpoint. We might have to watch that one, but that's maybe we'll see a few more storm statements issued on northeastern Indiana.
The one by Fort Wayne.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
Yep. Just based on velocity.
A lot of hail reports. I'm seeing all types. It's just littered across northern Indiana right now. John, I'm just curious if you were to, you may be doing this. Yep, you read my mind. The hail tracker.
Oh, that's 30 minutes. I bet this is the past 24 hours. Yeah, this was updated.
It's past 24 hours.
Yeah, this is updated very recently. 30-minute, you can tell we've lost. Our main cells that we've been watching in Ohio are.
Yep. It's no surprise, right, that some of the storms that's the National Weather Service tornado warning storm and our own custom tornado warning storm in eastern Ohio. Well, those are the two storms that have hail. Typically, you need some type of rotation for some type of hail development.
Matt, I'm going to step off here for about 5 minutes. Can I give screen control over to you temporarily?
Yeah, give me just a moment, John.
Yep. Oh, there is a new MD. Get this here real quick.
That's been there for a little bit, John.
Has it? Did I just now notice it? Okay.
It's them talking about additional storms forming through the overnight.
Okay.
Yeah, let me get some of my screens together real quick.
Beth, you will have accurate information about severe weather because we're going to be here with you tracking this. So regardless of the radar situation that's ongoing there, we're continuing to use all of the tools at our disposal, even at times issuing BAM alerts in addition to nowcasts. So we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this activity as it evolves.
All right, John. I don't know if I've got the controls at this moment in time.
It does appear that you do.
Okay.
And there we go. Perfect. All right. I will step off and I will be right back shortly.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Let's take a look. One thing I want to do is, because a lot of you have been asking about the storms off into Illinois as they move to the east. And what I want to do for us is try to get a timing, right? So if I loop the radar right now, you can see that there's storms starting to re-spark up by Decatur, Illinois, just west of Decatur right now. You can see some lightning strikes are starting to get going as well. And I'm going to go over it once again for us real quick. of the environment out ahead. And one thing we can look at, this is the instability, and there certainly is some instability still at play out to the west. And so the atmosphere still has some juice out ahead. So just because you're looking at the radar right now and you see, gosh, these storms have just stayed to my north, depending on where you're at. Say if you're towards Indianapolis or south of Indianapolis, a lot of you have been asking questions about that. And we look at something called lapse rates. Lapse rates are the temperature difference between the ground and up in the atmosphere. And let's just simplicity, the higher that number is, the more robust the atmosphere is going to be for upward motion. And there's still some decent lapse rates off to the south and to the west still at play. And so what I'm going to do for us is I'm going to do my best to time out some of these storms that we see into Illinois, and just to give us a general sense of a timing of when we can start to see a renewed resurgence of storms that work back into the area. So we're going to use a 55 mile per hour timing, and I'm going to draw a track on these storms. Now, let me loop the radar real quick. I want to get a general sense of direction of some of these storms. And so you can see a timing, and I've got the times up, of when this group of storms we see off to the west start to really work back in. Okay. And keep in mind, these times are in Eastern. So if you're in Illinois, subtract an hour, right? And that's going to get your time in Central. The more I zoom in, the more cities that are going to pop up for us. But take a look at where you're located, and you can get a general sense of timing of renewed storm activity. You can see towards Indianapolis, it's depending on where you're at, 11:30 to around midnight, and then the further south you are, it'll take a little bit more time, a little bit beyond the midnight time frame. Towards Cincinnati, you can see, now we're talking about something closer to 1 to 2 a.m. in the morning. So using a general sense of timing with these storms, that this is going to give us a general idea of some storms. Now, certainly if you're still to the north of Indy, right, we still have these storms ongoing now, and these storms are what we call elevated thunderstorms, and these are especially going to help promote for some hail. But as these storms move to the east, I think it's worth noting that we can get some strong wind gusts and some hail embedded within these. But it's to be honest, guys, this leading edge of storms that we see into Ohio, and we have seen kind of shift into northern Indiana throughout the afternoon into the early evening. These are the storms that have always been, in my opinion, the highest threat, the highest top end window for severity as far as that is concerned. So those are the storms that will pack most of the punch. I'm concerned the second round of storms. Yes, there can still be severe storms with this second round, but I think it's a hailer, it's a wind gust type of threat versus that of a tornado. Would I let our guards down completely? Can I completely rule out an isolated tornado? It's not impossible, but in my opinion, it's the tornado threat versus what we've seen is much less, in my opinion. And some of that, a little bit of that has to do with the time of day, right? And so the deeper into the overnight we work, we're just naturally going to lose a little bit of instability in the atmosphere. So a little bit of that storm fuel that we have available. And so that's one thing that's going to greatly limit these storms. But if we look off to the west, they are building, right? They're growing. We have another wave in the atmosphere that has yet to pass through. And so maybe some of you, I know I do personally, it makes for great sleeping weather, and perhaps maybe for some of you a little uneasy sleeping weather. But let's not forget, of course, the storms on the leading edge. Certainly still packing a punch as far as what is severe warned right now in Columbus. And one thing I want to reiterate, especially for some of you folks getting into central Ohio, is keep in mind we're dealing with a radar outage right now in Ohio, where we've got the Columbus terminal radar, the Dayton terminal radar, the Wilmington radar, and the terminal radar just south of Cincinnati. They're all down right now. And so that's greatly going to limit and hamper our ability to greatly and in detail assess some of these storms into southern Ohio, which is very unfortunate at this moment in time. I do want to at least take a quick look. I'm going to pause the radar for us real quick. And you can see, obviously, there's this strong storm statement just north of the Indianapolis metro area. 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, some hail of a quarter of an inch, 0.25 inch at play. So still some stronger storms. We still have a special weather statement towards Fort Wayne. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning just north of Dayton, some 60-mile-per-hour winds, hail threat up to 1 inch. The National Weather Service has actually just extended the severe thunderstorm warning to the east of Newark towards Coshocton to Newcomerstown. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, 1.25 inch hail. That's nothing to joke around about with this particular storm. And that storm in particular has had a history of rotation, and we'll take a look at that here in just a moment to assess that particular threat. And this storm that's starting to shift east into extreme eastern Ohio, it still looks like it's got some rotation elements into it, and it still looks like, to me, just purely looking at it on the radar, for some large hail. And yeah, there we go. The National Weather Service does have this storm in particular towards, again, far eastern Ohio, approaching Steubenville, Follinsby, Wellsburg, for 1.5 inch hail. So the hail in this particular storm is even more significant than the storm further off to the west. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust as well embedded within the storm. So these storms into Ohio are still packing a punch. I do venture to say that the further south and east these slide, they're going to start to lose a little bit of steam, much like what I mentioned further off to the west with the storms incoming that we see starting to erupt into Illinois. Is we're just naturally, as the sun continues to set, we're losing our instability. And so the deeper into the overnight we work, we're going to lose a little bit of that instability. But that doesn't mean there still can't be storms. Doesn't mean there still can't be severe weather. But we're starting to tame things just a little bit as far as overall intensity is concerned. I've talked about this a couple times as well. And one thing I don't want to sweep under the rug is I'm going to loop the radar for us and zoom the radar back just a little bit. And you can see the storm motion, right? It's from west to east. And we're going to get some situations upcoming through the evening into the overnight where we're going to get some training of some thunderstorms. And so if you're confused about what training thunderstorms are, that's consecutive storms moving over an individual location. And that's the recipe for potential for some flash flooding. You get caught under a thunderstorm for 1 to 2 hours, you can easily get 2 inches or more of rain. And so flooding will be an issue. And I know that's been an issue in the Ohio Valley already in this early spring that some of us have encountered. I know I've encountered it just south of Indianapolis myself. There was a day I could hardly get into work. I had to zigzag through my neighborhood because all the roads were flooded, and that's nothing compared to what some of you folks in Ohio and then even further south of me in southern Indiana have already encountered this year. So the soils are some of the soils, not all the soils. I know some of us, we desperately need this rain. We've talked to a lot of you into Illinois some farmers in particular who really need the rain and the moisture. Some of the soils are saturated, but not all. So I do want to take a look, just given where the most severe storms are ongoing at this point. And right now it is the storm starting to approach the around I-70 in Ohio as these storms start to drift to the south and to the east. So one thing I want to do for us is I'm going to bring up a program where we can assess a little bit more of rotation within these storms. Now, again, the problem is look at these radars that are down. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's super ill-timed as far as the tornado or the radars being down, but as far as assessing the rotation in these storms, it's going to make it difficult. But I do want to at least assess some of these storms as best as I can from a distance to see if we have any rotation. And on this particular tool, we're looking at something called storm relative velocity. Keep in mind when you're looking at this product, you've got one color where the winds are directed towards the radar and one color where the winds are directed away from the radar. And so what we're looking for as meteorologists is where do these greens and reds meet? Because that's going to signify where we have rotation. So it's right where they smack dab are up against each other. That's where we have potential rotation. And I would argue there's still some rotation here in the storm east of Hopedale, right? You can see the reds butted up against the green. Typically, I would like to see something a little bit tighter as far as going something full-blown tornadic. But look, where we have that rotation, we've got an inflow notch. You can see it right where my arrow is pointing. And so we've got this little inflow notch. And when I say inflow notch, it's literally what I said. The notch, a lightning injecting into the storm. That's signifying we do have some rotation still in this storm into eastern Ohio. And so, Bloomingdale, approaching Mingo Junction, New Alexandria, this area embedded, I'm going to kind of highlight, still cannot rule out a tornado with this storm. I still don't think that's out of the question. Now, you can see, obviously, whenever we look at the radar, I'm sure we see the reds on the radar, and we're like, gosh, that's a strong storm. Well, this storm is producing the pink and purple colors. And so there's no surprise why the National Weather Service has gone with that 1.5-inch hail warning with this particular storm, because I do expect this storm, again, if you're towards Steubenville, Mingo Junction, Jefferson, just south of Weirton, there can be some large hail in this. In fact, I expect there to be large hail in this storm. Okay. Now, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to assess this storm further to the west by Coshocton. And I'm going to do my best to analyze this storm from a distance. And it's going to have to be from a distance. From our radar site, which I can measure, is, 70 miles away. That's less than ideal. It's much less than ideal. But I can look at the same parameter, and we do have some reds butted up against the greens. But to say with 100% certainty that there's a tight rotation there, that's difficult to say, if I have to be honest. At this distance, I don't see what I would call a clear signal for rotation in that particular area, in my opinion.
Matt, another thing too that I'm just noticing as well, while we don't have radar, just looking at satellite, a couple products, you can still see the updrafts. You can still see the continuity of the storms as they're pushing southeast, holding together. So when I see that, at least on satellite, that helps tell me that they're maintaining their updrafts and maintaining intensity, at least for now, as they push to the southeast.
Yeah, and listen, it doesn't mean they still can't be severe warn type of storms. Clearly they are, right? This particular storm, again, by Coshocton, Franklin, currently warned for 60-mile-per-hour winds and $0.5 size hail, right? So it's still packing a punch. It would be worth monitoring for still that tornadic risk, because these storms have had a history of rotation, and I see some rotation with that storm in the far eastern Ohio as well. In fact, we've had a BAM tornado warning on that storm. So that's one thing we'll need to continue to keep an eye on moving forward. I'm going to go back to some of our products on clarity for us, but I just wanted us to kind of take a look and discuss some of the velocities and some of the issues in terms of Ohio that in particular we're having this evening as far as assessment. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, and here we go, right? We talked about these storms in Ohio have started to get going. New warning hail up to 1 inch, wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Interesting, John, I just kind of realized this. This area in Illinois, in eastern Illinois, we've got a blowing dust advisory. I talked about some areas, especially in Illinois. We've heard for some farmers, I need some rain. I know it's been dry, but just an interesting thing. We're at that time of the year where folks aren't planted, and so instead of having the corn planted in the ground, holding the dirt, together, so to speak, that's we don't have that right now, and so we get these gusty winds and these strong thunderstorms. You get some blowing dust. Not super common. I mean, I've in my time at BAM, I've been at BAM for 6-7 years, and I have seen that once before in Illinois, but gosh, can't say that's particularly too common in the area. I do want to give us a sneak peek, so to speak, of a product that we have on Clarity, and one of those products is called a Nowcast, and I'm going to show what the team's putting together as we speak. I may even beat the team before they issue this Nowcast, just to give you a glimpse of what you can get inside Clarity. And here's the Nowcast. So the team's gone over some of the timing of this upcoming storm, and they're giving you a sense of timing with this next wave of storms that's starting to approach the area. So again, if you're watching this and you're on Clarity, you may be getting a little bit of a sneak peek, so to speak, of your next Nowcast. But if you're interested in products like this, we've got the QR code in the top right-hand corner. You can scan that, and we've got all types of tools that'll be available to kind of help you out. John, if you can go ahead and man over the ship once again.
Yeah, let me take a look here. You were talking about the blowing dust. Decatur, Charleston, some of those areas didn't get rain from this latest round or the round from yesterday morning. So it's not a surprise to me that it's the wind's kicking up all of the dust there as well. There we go. I think that's mine. Yep. Okay. Matt, you may have to hide yours eventually.
Let me do that.
Matt, did you, and I may have missed this when I was gone for a few minutes, did you show any latest favored future model here at all? I wasn't sure if we had.
I did not. What I did, John, while you were gone is I tried to time out the storms into that are starting to get going in central Illinois, and because I saw a lot of questions, a lot of folks around Indianapolis, south of Indianapolis in particular, asking about, am I going to get storms tonight? If I do, what time? What are the severe risks? So I want to give folks a general sense of the timing upcoming. And so I didn't show any future radar per se.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Well, and that Nowcast that meteorologist Tyler Riggles just put out, very helpful as well. real quick before we move on with the analysis, I'll go ahead and put our Hail Tracks 24 on it. Again, that's another tool that you can access with clarity. Zones that were impacted this evening, storm rolls through your area and wondering if your roof, or you may even see that there's some damage. Get Indy Roof Company and Restoration to come out. No pressure, team's local, they're legit. They know how to deal with insurance companies. Shoot them an email here. Let me hide this so you can see that email below. indyroofandrestoration.com is a place you can check that out, or give them a phone call at 317-886-7436. Dawn, thank you for signing up for Clarity. Let us know what you think. I would say Jay County's out of the woods in terms of tornado risks, but we're definitely going to continue to see a couple additional rounds, 1 to 2 of some thunderstorms, gusts of 40, and some small hail likely going to be possible here. I want to start back to the east and discuss these 3 severe thunderstorm warnings that are working across Ohio again. And begin looking at updated timing. Still have severe thunderstorm warnings, Matt, on the cell in Steubenville. It does look like as we've gotten closer to the Pittsburgh radar and the terminal, the rotation thankfully has weakened a bit. You know, it's still, and I think some of that is due to looking at some observational stations to the south. Our southerly southwesterly winds are now starting to get below 10 knots. So I think that's maybe helping to reduce the rotation, at least where we were originally thinking that tornado risk is, which certainly good news for sure. And that's something you alluded to as well as it pushed southeast.
It's still got that little inflow notch in it, you know.
Yes, it does. Yep. It's if there's a cell out of all of these, this would be the one to watch. Let's do a timer on this cell as it crosses 16 here. It's Cambridge, St. Clairsville, Wheeling. This is the zone. I'll pull out my drawing tool. I would say we will see some intensity, a bit more weakening as it pushes to the southeast. Nevertheless, the damaging wind threat and some isolated large hail, I think, can continue if you're in this box. 1 severe thunderstorm warning currently in effect for that particular cell. Going to do some updated timing, and we will begin to put trackers on each of these cells. Ashley, I wouldn't use the word dangerous for Anderson, Indiana. At this point, I think there can be a few stronger storms we'll need to watch that begin to work in from the northwest. Watch for some stronger gust potential. I think the hail risk is not going to be, I think severe would be a very isolated concern. Not much change. Still get about 55. Not favoring any tornado activity for Johnson County. Very, very, very low end risk. Very low. Southeast at 55 miles per hour. We'll need to continue to maintain strong to severe concerns, gusts of 50 to 60. You can see the area that is under the severe thunderstorm warning, but as that's pushing more towards Cambridge in this outlying area, this is your 1030 line just outside of Wheeling. That is your 1030 line.
John, I'm having a brain fart here. How do I stop sharing my screen?
I think if you go to your bottom panel where you have your microphone, video, and then invite guests, there's the share screen tab. And if you move your mouse cursor over it and then hit the 3 dots, it'll show where you can replace, hide, or stop. That's usually how I remove mine.
It's not showing up.
I'll send a screenshot in Slack over here. I might be able to, you know what, let me try to hide it.
There we go.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Last time I hit that button, I kicked Brett off on accident, so I didn't want to hide you too. Well, Matt, I want to look at these cells near Springfield, Ohio, but we are really starting to get to the maximum of our range here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to analyze with any certainty. John, the storms in Southern Illinois, I mean, they're looking like some pretty large hailers.
Yeah.
Approaching Bethany, Illinois.
There we go. Starting to get that turquoise white look on the DBZs, 6970. Get some timing on that. Bethany, Dalton City, Lovington, Sullivan, Tudds Point, Allenville. I believe I saw the speed of 55 on this cell, which was done a few minutes ago. I'm not going to retime that. I would imagine this storm is capable of producing larger than quarter-sized hail based on that DBZ readout. I haven't seen any reports confirming that, but I have zero reason to doubt that.
Yep.
Make sure yeah, a little bit more of southeasterly tilt. Timing associated with this cell. Greatest potential for severe hail will be along and to the south of this blue dashed line I have showing. Allenville 10, Charleston 10:20, and remember these are in Eastern times. I'll actually convert this here. Charleston 9:18 Central, Westfield 9:30 Central, Brockton 9:24 Central, Arthur 8:54 Central, Bethany 8:40 Central.
Josh, that's a great question. DBZ, it's decibels. It's just the amount the radar is returning, the amount the radar is picking up on. So, with the higher the number, the more the radar's seeing, essentially.
So, yeah, that's a great question. You know, Matt, this cell south of Springfield, I've got I got a gust of 43. Well, never mind. That was from a couple hours ago. Ignore me. I do see, however, is we're likely starting to get some increased lightning potential out ahead of this one, which tells me the updraft is very well sustained. It wouldn't surprise me towards Taylorville, Palmer, Morrisonville, we start to see that same feature as well. This particular cell looks like it can also become a strong to severe storm.
Mm-hmm.
I will time this out for 55 as well. This would be near Effingham and that I-70, I-57 JCT around 9:40 Central Time. Ramsey, 9:17 CT. Windsor, 9:12 CT. Morrisonville, 8:43 CT.
People in the comments just said Purdue won.
I saw the upset, Iowa upsetting Nebraska. I forgot that Purdue was playing.
Wow, they did it. Well, my wife will be happy. So. There's that.
Let me take a quick look here up to the east. Not much changing. A little more of an organized thunderstorm line, right? Just based on lightning, I was going to check to see if there's any radar indications.
John, I'm going to hop off of here, given the kind of lack of severity right now.
Sure.
But appreciate everyone hopping on, and John, I don't know how long you'll be on in particular tonight, but keep up the good work, man.
We'll do. I will. Yeah, I'm going to maintain the stream at least as the severe weather continues to work through Ohio, given the radar outage, especially towards Columbus and Springfield. And let's keep an eye on these cells in central Illinois. Especially.
Perfect. All right. Good night, everybody.
Night, Matt. Take care. One thing I might do, everybody, is I might, out of experience, given that we're on 3 hours and 30 minutes of this stream, I might at some point restart the stream. It'll still be for all socials, but I want to adjust the stream area that's on Clarity so that other people to the south, I want to make sure they're seeing this as well. We'll wait and see what happens with the storms across southern Illinois. The other reason to do it is at times you do a stream a bit too long, it can start to lock up with the software. So while it's quieter, we have no active tornado warnings, it might be a good idea to do that. We'll continue to monitor as necessary. Indianapolis, Fishers, Noblesville, this strong storm statement should be allowed to expire. That was, I believe, do we have 40? Yeah, 40 mile per hour gusts and pea-sized hail. I do think that for those of you in Muncie and Delaware County, you'll likely see some more pea-sized hail potentially. I don't see anything that would be greater than that, thankfully. We'll continue to keep an eye on Illinois. Let's go ahead and shift back into Ohio. Hamilton County, Indiana, done for the night. I think your greater strong to severe risks are going to be more localized. I think the widespread risk is likely going to be over. Let's watch for some stronger gust potential of 40 to 50 plus and some very isolated pockets of large hail. The cell that I'm watching, just to flip back here, that I am keeping an eye on, Danville, Covington. That cell has yet to show me that it's producing severe characteristics compared to its goes into central Illinois. But that would be the one cell as it enters the state and pushes to the southeast. This one, if you've missed out on storms for tonight so far across Indy, if most of these have gone just to your north, this would be the next cell to watch. I mean, the ones in central Illinois are turning southeast, so this one's got to turn southeast at some point, right? Obviously, we're thankful that it won't be severe if it does get into Indianapolis. But I do expect, even though it might seem impossible that we've missed a couple of these rounds, for those of you right along the I-70 corridor, yes, you are going to see showers and thunderstorms here as well. Before we go into Ohio again, I do want to check our latest future radar. I see a new strong storm statement has been issued. This is our latest future radar. It's powered off of the HRRR. It hasn't done spectacular with this particular event. I do want to see how it's, let me turn off the lightning and see if I agree with this. Yeah, it's hard to disagree from a timing standpoint. Here's what I will say before I show the rest of this model, and I'm seeing counties south of I-70 asking. These ongoing cells in southern Illinois, I think these can be more robust than what this particular future radar that I'm about to show you is going to see. I think they can be more robust. I think they can have some large hail and damaging wind risks. Not seeing any tornado potential with them, but they are maturing as they're pushing to the southeast. They're starting to move into an area where we have pretty decent energy, and with the lack of storms we had earlier this far south, they're going to be able to continue to mature as they push more into southeastern Illinois, across I-70 into southwestern Indiana. Let's watch these as they're pushing more towards Bloomington, Bedford area for some additional hail concerns. Here's the future radar. This is Eastern time, 11 Eastern, midnight. It is likely going to look messy. Perhaps not exactly like this frame for frame, but it is going to be messy. Again, this is midnight Eastern. These can be a bit more robust, have a bit more hail and gust with them, given that there's a better environment a little bit south of Indy. Let's watch that. We continue to push through here. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you start to see more of the heavier rain, downpours, thunderstorms, now aligning more across central Indiana, central Ohio. And that's going to continue through 3, 3:30, 4, and probably until 5, we start to see more southeastward motion. Same risk I mentioned earlier. If we can see more of these robust storms in southeastern Illinois, southwestern Indiana, might be able to tug the line a bit further to the south. Again, these risks for hail and damaging winds are going to be isolated, scattered in nature. It's not going to be a widespread risk. We're just keeping an eye on cells, and then as it forms into a line, we'll need to monitor. You can start to notice the updated timing as that pushes more to the southeast, getting toward the Ohio River after 6 a.m. At this point, a few gusts to 40, but I would not favor any additional strong to severe risks at this point. Now, I intentionally didn't mention anything about Ohio outside of southwestern, as we are still dealing with strong to severe thunderstorms working across this zone. In particular, new strong storm statement issued, gust of 50, hail of around ½ inch. Look at these locations. I'll give you a visual here momentarily. Columbus, Springfield, Lancaster, Westerville, Worthington, London, Yellow Springs, Marysville, Pickerton, excuse me. And this is gust of 50 and ½ inch hail. We are moving into a zone where our backup radars and our regular radars are not working. I don't disagree with this. I would assume, just watching the tops of the clouds as we're pushing to the southeast, we do have some slight weakening ongoing. Even so, 50-mile-per-hour gust, I would prepare for that. I'm going to do timing out through the next couple of hours for this activity. Getting timing closer to 50. And I will approximate the leading edge from what I can see on radar. We'll take this out a couple of hours, and I'll go time through time. Columbus right now, leading edge where I think the greatest potential of those gusts of 40 to 50 can exist. Columbus, 10:05. South Bloomfield, 10:25. This is all in eastern. Mount Sterling, 10:15. Williamsport, 10:33. Pleasantville, 10:37. Fairfield Beach, 10:34. Logan, 11:05. Shawnee, 11:07. Hopewell, 10:48. Hanover, 10:36. Zanesville, 11 p.m. Athens, 11:37. Stockport, 11:30. Sharon, 11:30. Here, a little bit across the southeastern portion of this, we're in hour 1 through 2. Star 11:20, Knox 11:37, Hamden 11:39. Northern side of this, Zanesville again 10:58, Cumberland 11:20, Sharon 11:32, Summerfield 11:40. This is for strong storms of 40 to 50 miles per hour and small hail. Can we see a few gusts of 60? Absolutely. I think it's going to become a much more localized risk as this activity starts to dive more from northwest to the southeast. The only active severe thunderstorm warning we have currently is eastern half of the state, Plainfield, Conesville, Franklin, will check this as well. It's still moving at 50. There is some rotation being noted on it. It's pretty far from the radar. That is about the only area that I see that has a bit of a couplet, if you can even call it that. I agree with no tornado warning right now. I think it's too elevated, but there is a little bit of rotation. Outside of this storm, I realize there's still a tornado watch out. I think the tornado risk is very, very low for the rest of the evening for Ohio. Really everywhere. It continues to drop and is very, very low. Across the entire storm area. Outside of that severe warning cell, I'm not seeing any additional potential for that right now. I will scoot back to the west and I'll double check a few things across central into western Illinois. We will get timing on this cell. Will not overlap. We'll go 1 hour 52. Keep in mind, the only severe thunderstorm warning active is this yellow zone here. I would say along to the south, blue dashed line. Tornado risk in Bloomington is about a 1 out of 100. Very, very low at this point. Blue dashed line, Morristown 1030, Hopedale 1017, Amsterdam 1006, Smithfield 1027, Toronto 1022, Rush 955, Center 1015, Barnesville 1040 p.m. Eastern. Western Ohio, Eastern Indiana, we're continuing. Let's go ahead and put the lightning on. Emphasize these are still thunderstorms. I have not seen additional strong storm statements being issued. I'm just not seeing much in terms of gusts or small hail with this activity. General thunderstorms, heavy, moving west to east. We'll, of course, continue to monitor. The northern extent areas of the severe thunderstorm watch. For the time being, I don't see anything of concern in this zone here either. I want to check on this line that's trying to develop in central Illinois. That may be more of that wind gust damaging wind concern, and you can even see across southeastern Iowa, northwestern Illinois. Very messy. Over here, I'm checking to see what if our team has anything new and keeping an eye on the radar as well. Right now, northeastern Illinois, this line, this almost bow, if you will, a few gusts of 40. I can't rule out. Let me move that here. Right now, I'm not impressed. Not seeing concerns with this part of the line here. The line of storms that's developing in western Illinois, eastern Iowa, however, I do agree with. You can see some of those strong storm statements that have been issued, mostly for gusts of, let's see, I would guess 40. I see a few here for 30. Yeah, 30 to 40 and dime to nickel sized hail. Let's time this out, and then I want to get back to our pair of two cells. There's the severe thunderstorm warning finally for that southern cell. That's going to continue to remain in effect through about 9:30 central time frame. Risk is very low, Leanna. Risk is very low. The tornado concerns are pretty much done across this event. These cells right now across southern Illinois, I would favor them to be more hail and damaging winds would be more of the concern, and they're going to remain scattered. I'm checking a couple more. I would be incredible. Yeah, the only area that even shows any type of torque parameter continues to be southern Ohio. Let's time out this line, and then I want to focus on a few of those other cells across western Illinois, and then we will evaluate and see where we are. All right, timing for this line, for those of you using your storm tracker and continuing on with us, is about 56 miles per hour from west to east. And this is going to overlap. Oh, messed it up. Let's try that again. This is going to overlap with a few of the cells already ongoing in Illinois. Again, this is more the line that is producing the gusts of 30 to 40 and some dime to nickel sized hail. I don't expect intensity to increase much as this pushes to the east, at least for these locations. We'll watch for a few rogue gusts of 50 plus. Current timing, I will give a few of these in CT Galesburg right around 9:25. Canton, Illinois, 10:04. Streeter, 9:57 CT. There we go. More times for you. Liverpool, 10:23 CT. Forest City, 10:31. Littletown, 10:16 CT. And again, that's for the line of strong storms that is beginning to push northwest to southeast. I'll keep that timing up. These two cells currently have my attention for large hail and damaging winds. Let's reinvestigate them further to the south. Getting close to about still 50. Yeah, still 50 miles per hour. Haven't seen any hail reports outside. There we go. 1/4 inch hail associated with this cell right here. And I haven't gotten any hail reports out of this one except for 45 to 60 mile per hour gusts. We had a 54 obs there. Continues to line up. Going to time the outer edge of this particular cell as it starts barreling east, southeast. Let's take it out a couple hours. Okay, this particular cell, I do think that the hail threat, damaging winds are going to remain a bit more scattered. Looking at it on radar and looking at what's out in front of it, I think the top of the cloud kind of just phased out. I think it maintains intensity, at least to the Illinois-Indiana border. There's some cloud debris and activity out ahead of it that may help with some weakening. There's still good. I'm looking at ingredients instability. There's still some out ahead. I right now don't think that this particular cell dies just yet. I'm not ready to go that route. I think it holds on. Zooming in, you can see we start getting more towards Vermilion, Illinois, around 9:56 CT. Terre Haute, that's 11:07 Eastern. Cedar Point, 11:29 Eastern. Jasonville, 11:40 Eastern. Clay City, 11:30. Spencer, 11:50 Eastern. Gosport, 11:55. Cloverdale, 10:50 Eastern. Worthington, 11:50. Swit City, 11:55. Cell is probably going to stay narrower. There can be some locations on the northern edge. If there's bust potential or areas where I think I can miss out, it would be these zones right here, as this has a tendency to dive a little bit more to the southeast. We will time out this next cell again. I do see the questions. I will roll right back through central Indiana again and talk about the severe risk. Let's actually make this a bit simple real quick. I'm watching one cell in southeastern Ohio. For the rest of you, the tornado risk is over. It is zero. I'm going to make the tornado risk zero. We'll keep it simplified. It's hail, damaging winds, and flash flooding. The tornado risk is over. This is going to be more for those damaging winds and hail that we're watching in scattered fashion throughout the evening. Now, that line that's in northwestern Illinois, right now, there's likely going to be some decent gusts along it. I still think the severe risk, however, is going to be more scattered in nature, just given the amount of storms that have continued across central Indiana into central Illinois. Let's time this out. There can be some overlap with this particular cell. Effingham, 950 CT. Newton, 1015 CT here. Casey, 1007. Got this one moving at a decent clip. I, too, think that it can steer a bit southeast. We'll need to watch. Large hail, 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts possible with this. Again, these are cells. They haven't formed into a line, so I continue to think that risk is going to be a bit more scattered in nature. I was keeping an eye, and I think this illustrates it very well. These particular storms in western Indiana, east of Danville, south of Lafayette, they were showing a bit more lightning, had some stronger storm characteristics. They're starting to die out a little bit as they push to the east, and I think that supports what we believe is going on of a much weaker environment across central Indiana as a whole. Ashley says I am starting every few seconds. See that's I was concerned that might happen. I'm going to stay online here, try to for another 10 minutes, and probably what I'm going to do is, given that the stronger severe threat is winding down, at least the widespread coverage of it, the tornado risk over, I probably will switch to just a clarity live as needed. If we can see a more organized line, and I think the wind gust risks of 40 to 50 plus can be a bit more widespread, I may come back on briefly for a live. But I think for right now, I'm probably going to switch our lives over to clarity here in the next 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and wrap up here on what we're looking at. One thing I do before I forget, they've been awesome to work with, and given some of the storm damage with hail risks, I definitely want to give them another final shout out here on our public stream. Indy Roof and Restoration, they have been supporting tonight's stream, in case you didn't already know. Storms that rolled through our area, if you're wondering whether your roof or property took damage, These are the guys to call at 317-886-7436. They'll come out, get up on the roof, make a photo report. It's free. There's no pressure, and they will give you the results. So give them a call, and you can also check them out at indieroofandrestoration.com. There's a QR code also there as well, just in the I almost said the southeast corner of the page. Can you tell I've been talking about weather? But you can go ahead and scan that there if you're on the TV, or again, check out indieroofandrestoration.com. Let's wrap up our current thinking for strong to severe storms. Eastern Ohio, we're continuing to track the single severe thunderstorm warning cell. I want to put eyes on that radar one more time. Bear with me for a moment. I'm double checking timing. This cell still has severe characteristics, absolutely, as it approaches I-70. I'm really skeptical. This is the only cell really that we have that would have any type of rotation potential. I don't see it. I think it maintains, though, a large hail risk and damaging wind gust of 50 to 60 as it pushes from northwest to southeast here. I will put another timer on this particular area. Salesville, 1025, Eastern Barnesville, 1025, St. Clairsville, 1030. That West Virginia, Ohio border close to 1040. And then West Findlay, we start getting into southwestern Pennsylvania at 1054. Clarington, 1056. The storm, I continue to expect it to weaken a bit as it pushes southeast, but we're going to continue to see those gusts potential of 50 to 60 and large hail. Southern Ohio, from what we can tell, that radar outage is still, I don't like it, but looking at our one radar we have available to us, and I'm using satellite as a guide, these storms are looking pretty weak overall. At this point, I think that there can continue to be, and I will draw here to illustrate this. This zone in particular, I know it's white. I didn't mean to do that. Let me find a color here. You know, I'm starting to like blue. I think blue is the color that just works in every situation with the exception of snow. If you're in this zone right here with these stronger thunderstorms pushing southeast, a few gusts of 40 to 50 definitely can't be ruled out. I think the hail risk is going to be pretty isolated, likely small hail. We are continuing to watch a couple storms as well. So far, these have behind from Newcastle towards the state border, Coldwater. Those have been pretty weak. Watching them, they're still lightning. I would expect more good old-fashioned thunderstorms to be in play as a result. Let's show the future radar here. I will turn off the tracks. The only active severe thunderstorms we have right now are southeastern Illinois. This activity is going to continue to push southeast. Once again, this future radar, for those of you that have been following, I don't think it's as robust with these cells as it needs to be. Maybe this run is a little bit better. I agree. Bloomington, southwestern Indiana, you're going to see storms, but I think there can be more strong to severe. Now, this model is not doing perfect with the line in Iowa either. but I do think it's showing the general storm coverage becoming more linear once we get beyond 2 a.m. Now, for those of you, and I will draw this. Let me go through the timing for this wave first. It's be 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and then 6 a.m. Eastern. I think once we get to this point, for those of you in far southern Indiana, southern Illinois, northern Kentucky, those gusts are likely going to be pretty weak, less than 40. I think the risk is going to be far too low. Activity exiting by 7:38. As this line or segments towards 1 to 2 a.m. work through central Illinois and central Indiana, there will continue to be a stronger wind gust potential of 40 to 50. Can't rule out some damaging winds of closer to 60 on some of these leading edges. We'll have to watch. So far, that's supported with some of this activity we're watching in western Illinois. And I think there can continue to maintain a localized large hail threat. The later we get into the overnight, I think the more localized that hail risk becomes. I am not favoring any additional tornado concerns with this activity. So if that is a concern for you, do not worry about that any longer. It's going to be a hail wind and some heavy rain as we get further into the next few hours. Last risk I want to mention, last risk here, and I did see that the Ohio comment, same thing with central Ohio as well. So once these storms pass, and this is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then 3 a.m., no tornado risks. I think hail can be isolated in nature. I think you'd be dealing with more stronger wind gusts of 40 to 50 along that leading edge as it starts to push from north to the south. Last area I want to mention before I go ahead and reset the streams. This is our rain forecast for the next 24 hours. You see that 1 to 2 zone? I favor there to be some locally heavier streaks of up to 3 inches in this particular zone. I think that's possible. I think that will keep flash flooding not widespread, but a definite localized concern. There should be a couple of flash flood warnings as a result of this the further we get into the early morning hours. So keep that in mind. Flood-prone roads, areas that don't do well with events that have a lot of water, that's going to be a concern for your AM commute starting tomorrow. What day is tomorrow? Friday, starting Friday morning. All right, what I'm going to do is, given the downturn of severe weather and the end of the tornado threat, I am going to end the live stream on our social media platforms. I am going to come back I'm going to take a quick 10, 20-minute break and evaluate models and go talk with my team. And at about 10:30, I will send out another localized stream for areas. It's likely going to be central Indiana, central Illinois. Here, this is probably, I'll draw out my zone so that you can see where I'm going to be going live. Once again, on Clarity. These are the zones that I will be going live. Not including far southern Indiana, because at that point, I think the severe risk is going to be over, not until later. But these are the areas, and here's what I'm going to do too, just because I'll regret doing this. I'm putting this in my chat as well, so that when I send that out on Clarity, I'll actually see where I circled. But if you're interested in continuing to stay along, go join Clarity Home. You can see that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. I'll go ahead and highlight that as well. Oh, didn't quite get it. There we go. This QR code right here, go ahead and scan that, sign up for Clarity Home. We'll continue to stay live as we track these severe storm risks. I can't promise I'm going to stay live for the rest of the night just because I think the risk is too scattered, but I want to get some fresh eyes and take a look a little bit more at what you're seeing. So be prepared for that ping.